mi viejita ya está cansada de trabajar pa' mi hermano y pa' mí. Y ahora con gusto me toca ayudarla, y por mi vieja luchar hasta el fin. Por ella lucharé hasta que me muera, y por ella no me quiero morir. Tampoco que se me muera mi vieja, pero que va si el destino es así. Los caminos de la vida no son como yo pensaba, como los imaginaba, no son como yo creía. Los caminos de la vida son muy difíciles.
That's a little too sad.
En la vida conocí mujer igual a la flaca, coral negro de La Habana, tremendísima mulata, 100 libras de piel y hueso, 40 kilos de salsa, y en la cara 2 soles que sin palabras hablan, que sin palabras hablan. La flaca duerme de día, dice que así el hambre engaña, y cuando cae la noche baja a bailar a la tasca, y bailar y bailar y tomar una cerveza tras otra, pero ella nunca engorda, pero ella nunca engorda. Por un beso de la flaca daría lo que fuera, por un beso de ella aunque solo uno fuera, por un beso de la flaca daría lo que fuera, por un beso de ella aunque solo uno fuera, aunque solo uno fuera. Mojé mis sábanas blancas, como dice la canción, recordando las caricias que me brindó el primer día, y enloquezco de ganas de dormir a su ladito, porque Dios que esta flaca a mí me tiene loquito. Oh, a mí me tiene loquito. Por un beso de la flaca yo daría lo que fuera, por un beso de ella aunque solo uno fuera, por un beso de la flaca yo daría lo que fuera, por un beso de ella aunque solo uno fuera, aunque solo uno fuera, aunque solo uno fuera.
All right. I'm one of those annoying people that say they listen to everything, and I mean it. Like I listen to everything, or at least I try my best to listen to everything. So I try. I will say, because y'all saw it up there already, so who cares? It is what it is. Man, god damn Leonard Cohen. God damn him. And I hadn't listened to him in a while, in quite some time. And Millennials Are Killing Capitalism was doing like a dual stream with a couple people. And one of the individuals brought up a line by Leonard Cohen. Everyone knows that the game is rigged. And since then, you know, his voice and his lyrics have been on my mind. It's just, man. Again, you're talking to a fucking, I was a brown kid running around with Bob Dylan on my binder. I went to a middle school that we weren't allowed to have backpacks. Right, yeah. Anyways, we weren't allowed to have backpacks, no lockers. And so my binder, very prominent for a whole school year, if not maybe 2, was Dylan, man. And so, I mean, just obsessed with his lyrics. Blood on the Tracks, amazing album. What I will say is, you can never accuse me of being anti-Semitic because of it. Name me another brown kid in LA County that was rocking Bob Dylan on his binder in middle school. It's impossible for me to be anti-Semitic. Imposible. Man. Rogue. What about death metal or deathcore? Nah, man, I can't. I hardly don't even really engage with a lot of punk music because I'm naturally angry, curmudgeon, upset, hot-headed, you name it. I'm already in a negative state of mind consistently. That's my secret, Cap. I'm always grumpy. And so if you add anything like hardcore, death metal, some actual punk music, not like ska punk, not like watered down punk, but actual punk music, I get too riled up, especially if I'm driving. It's bad. So I avoid it as much as possible. Rammstein will always have a special place in my heart. And just because, man, growing up with Rammstein was do we really want to get this stream demonetized immediately? What track am I thinking about? Do you guys say Rammstein? Like Finkelstein? Which is the one I'm thinking about? You'll know it immediately. I don't think it's this one though. Watch. Nope. Oh my god. Bro. Just memories just came flooding. I feel like an old man, bro. I feel like an old man. So fucking good. So fucking good, man. I mean, I walked to school and I had 0 period 2 to make it worse. Just blasting this, man. Nothing like it. So I'll man, I avoid sharing too much parasocial stuff. In elementary, because I'm old, I had a little girlfriend or whatnot, and then I think it was probably like for Christmas or something like that, maybe the end of the year, who knows. We had a little gift exchange or whatever. And anywho, the gift that she got me was this album right here. What's the name of the album? I'm horrible with names. Oh, Rise. Yeah. That's where I was in elementary school. You know what I mean? Man. So good. Why? I'm just gonna end the stream and go listen to Rammstein all day. Man, so great. I mean, I think that one of these days we're gonna have to do like one of these days we're gonna have to do an only Twitch stream because they don't give a fuck about copyright over there and just go through music. That'd be interesting. But I don't know what the transfer rate would be, going to Twitch. But yeah, man. No, so my left hip right now, my left hip is a little sore because I'm always late to everything. So usually I miss warming up, which is not good because I'm horribly out of shape. But I'm just always late. So by the time I show up, like I'm running so late that I'm wrapping my hands while driving, which is fucking stupid and dangerous. But I've gotten really good at it, which probably makes it more dangerous and worse. So I'm always running late. It's just, it's a problem. And so I miss warming up. I actually got there on time-ish. I got there on time. I got there on time last night. And so I got to do the full warm-up. So I was like super happy. Totally forgot to stretch because normally I miss the warm-up. So I'm like, I have to stretch at least. And so while we're like, coach is breaking down what we're going to be doing for the night or just a drill for that session, I'm stretching. I'm listening. I'm stretching. So because I got a good little sweat on, I totally forgot to stretch. And so we're working on knees, stepping knees, shuffle knees, just all long knees right there. And just, guarding. We got the belly pads on, you're defending, stiff arming foods and just, anywho, great training session. Got to work out with somebody who just really enjoy their energy and their pace and forgot to stretch. And my left hip, like an old man, has been aching all fucking morning. I say that to say that like that's where I get it out. That is my therapy. Preferably I like to spar, but like going over some dope drills, really getting tired to where you don't have energy to be upset. You're just grateful that you can breathe. You're just grateful to drink water. You got that high from, the endorphins. Like that is what I need to stay sane. I do not do martial arts to be in great shape. I do not train martial arts to learn how to kick ass. I do martial arts. I train in martial arts to be sane. It is my therapy. I escape when I'm there. I don't think about anything else but hitting pads, doing the technique correctly, not getting hit in the face, preferably, which I'm excited to do tonight. So yeah, I got anger issues, but you gotta work around it. But yes, all right. What was a jam that you guys are looking for? Nico Marias, who's that? I used to have a dope free like a 7-day yoga routine that I found online. It was so cool. The guy was a annoying white dude. Like he looked like that's cool. If Joe Rogan wasn't a complete like meathead. But he looked just like Joe Rogan, like short, stocky, Italian looking dude, meatball, but had a good fucking nice flow. And the way that channel had it was just his playlist, and it was like 7 days, and that flow was so nice. Like it really, it was a little bit challenging, like in terms of you felt it, but it wasn't overwhelming. So it was a great morning routine that I did for a little bit. I totally forgot about it. I do try my best to always stretch and remain just keep my hips loose, especially because the way that I kick with my lead leg is I'm not great, but it is surprising to people. And in fact, the homie that I was training with yesterday, he's a southpaw, and so when we sparred last week, southpaws aren't used to having their lead leg chopped down with outside kicks, because most people aren't comfortable with outside kicks, especially orthodox fighters. But you kind of have to do it if you're sparring or fighting a southpaw, because the goal is to win the outside game, right? So you're trying to get your lead leg outside of your opponent's lead leg if they're a southpaw, in order to have your rear hand and leg, your power, go through, right? Completely. So you're both fighting for that lead position and the outside position, excuse me, with the lead leg. And so the outside kick is just perfect to establish that, because you're pushing your opponent's leg the other way, further, inside, and preferably into your power. And a lot of southpaws aren't used to getting hit like that, because a lot of orthodox fighters don't have a lot of flexibility or good timing, control, and power with their lead leg. That's something that I'm very grateful to have, right? And so I mentioned it to him because we were just chopping it up. And then he starts laughing. He goes, dude, that's right. He goes, I remember, he's like, we're sparring. And I was like, fuck, Carlos really likes that kick. And it's like, well, it's not even that I like it. It's that I have to use it against southpaws, because I've been very fortunate to have grown up sparring with certain southpaws that are just fucking aces, man. Aces. Like, I remember this dude that he was a wrestler, and then he was training with us when I was a lot younger, and he had a beautiful turning around, what did they call that back in the day? What was it? Like turning backside kick. Beautiful, bro. Like, this fool would knock the air out of me like fucking 3 days a week. Fuck with those kicks. It was just brutal growing up like that. But I learned so much. Like, no one else can catch me with that kick, because I would see the setup, because he was so quick with it. I would see the setup, so I was like, all right, if you're not as quick as he is or quicker, you're not gonna get me. So very grateful for him. He ended up blowing his ACL, and we were young, bro. He was a little bit older than I was, but I want to say I was probably like tops 15, so he was probably like 17. I know he was still in high school. I was probably younger than that, actually, like 14. And I was very fortunate to train with slightly older people, who just would beat the shit out of me, and it just makes you better. Anywho, yeah, man, I love it. But that's how I get my anger out. Nah, man, not that. I love studying technique and foot placement. I would rather 100 times. I don't know. Like, I think breaking down things is so valuable to knowing whether or not you're a real student of the game. Obviously, like, training everything is essential, but there's some people that just you can't have technical conversations about it. They might be great. They just don't. They can do it, but they can't talk about it, or they're just not interested. That's why, like, coaches that actually have trained and fought are so fucking valuable, because they've done it and they could break that shit down. It's so cool. Like, having conversations with real coaches that have real fight experience is, man, like any other teacher, like any other professor, it's so beneficial. That being said, though, I had one decent, like, great solid coach who did not really compete like that. And he was very, his goal was to be a great coach, put it that way. Anyway, all right, we've been rambling. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for distracting me off the bat. 20 minutes, not too bad. Linstack is on the chat, so we're safe. We're good to enjoy ourselves and have some fun. The sheriff, the military brat, is not here, so we're safe for a little bit longer. All right, let's get to it. Espresso the Prezzo says that the YouTube chat has impeccable taste. So Espresso the Prezzo always showing y'all love, keeping the Twitch chat alive. And yo, Deculturation live chat is kicking today. Let's see. I was locked in on the debate yesterday. Your stance against Zionism has taught me a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It wasn't a debate. Although my dumbass, it's beyond reach. I did too many. It's good. It's fine. Let's talk about it. All right. Let's talk about it for a brief moment. I'm I'm gonna come back to this. I am interested in this. Very ethereal. I like this. Again, shout out to Dr. Ball. We're at 11K views. That's cool. Shout out to FD. Bill showed up. I appreciate the time and the space. It wasn't a debate. I don't think it was pitched as a debate, but I did go in preparing as if it were a debate. You know, either copy and pasting from his post and literally handwriting out some of his quotes, and just with questions. I had a lot of questions, man. I didn't know how the approach was going to be. I definitely didn't think that it was going to be so inconsistent with his presence in the conversation, which threw me off. And also, look, I know y'all give FD a hard time, but like, FD was there for the entire conversation, and he wasn't trying to hide his position, his knowledge. He was there to ask questions. He was there to learn, which, I mean, I don't got shit to teach anyone, but Dr. Ball, you know, is a doctor for a reason. He's a doctor and he ain't gonna help you with your health. So he's got that brain, you know? So honestly, I think, look, just because I've seen this before, I've been criticized of like, why are you so like soft and like not as critical on FD. I was not a like hardcore fan of FD Signifier. I enjoyed what I had seen of them. It just wasn't really for me. I don't think FD's ever presented himself as a radical, as a socialist, as a communist. In fact, we have joked around about people outside, you know, in this kind of realm, but not within like Black liberation media or anything like that. Obviously, referencing him or referring to him as a Marxist. Like, we have laughed at that because it's like when FD says like people watch my stuff and they don't listen to what I'm saying, they hear what they want to hear. I've seen it from people who like treat him like he's a radical or Marxist or something like that. It's wild to see, and it's hilarious, and it's funny. It really is. So that being said, since he's never presented himself as that, I've never had any animosity towards him. In fact, when the whole thing with PF Jung happened, that's when I was like, whoa, hold on. Yeah, you're not like a radical, but also like you're not like somebody that cozy up to reactionaries. Like, wait, hold on. Whereas like if Brianna Joygray did that, I'm like, okay, yeah, she just had Jimmy Dore on, and it was not a contentious conversation whatsoever. It was not a contentious conversation whatsoever. In fact, I don't think she challenged Jimmy Dore. Maybe I have to rewatch it, but I don't think she challenged Jimmy Dore at all or whatsoever in any meaningful way in that conversation. And Jimmy Dore is a reactionary. He is. Sorry to burst your bubble. It's shocking, right? That a private school Catholic kid with a pig family. Oh shit! Look. Hold on. I don't want to get on. Look. That fucking bean shit, homie. Con mi cafecito. You already know. Is a reactionary. Anywho. But you see that. I never really saw that with FD, so I was like, yo, like what, you know, and so that's how we ended up having a conversation, because I was like, nah, like now it's like cross a line that I didn't think he would cross. And then the other aspect of it, I know we were kind of roasting him a little bit about, you know, heavy as a crown. Like, Hasan Piker's never going to talk to me. Hasan Piker's not going to talk to Dr. Ball. I mean, maybe I can pull a little reverse psychology and he will. There is no reason for FD to talk to us. It doesn't, other than him legitimately wanting to bring attention to Black liberation media, wanting to listen to criticism, and that doesn't mean he's going to change his worldview, but just get a different perspective. Like, he seems to be that type of individual that likes to hear people out, which I appreciate. Again, he's never presented himself as some type of revolutionary radical. The reason why I despise Hasan Piker is because that's his character, right? That's his character. This fool has literally like stood up and like done the Soviet national anthem. Like, what the fuck? How performative can you be? The reason why I can't stand Bad Empanada is because he presents himself as a third worldist, and he's over here calling for the like colonization of the Inuit people, right? He says he's anti-Zionist, and he's over here praising Norm Finkelstein. Like, bro, it's easy. It's easy to call out obvious Zionist or Zionist propaganda. That's easy. You're just like padding your record. You're just putting up stats. If you can't recognize Norm Finkelstein as a Zionist, then you're not who you say you are, homie. And the reason why I think he adores Norm Finkelstein is because Norm Finkelstein is a white savior. I think Bad Empanada is a white savior. Norm Finkelstein uses the people that he claims to speak for and represent. Bad Empanada uses struggles he's never been a part of to wash away his sins, his culpability, his accountability as a colonizer, as a Westerner, as a white man, right? So he uses it as a shield. Very similar to Hasan Piker using, other struggles as a shield for criticism. I think that's sick. And call me out if I ever do that shit. If I ever go, oh, attacking me is attacking the movement. What the fuck, bro? The cosign that FD gives people, right? Like, one of the most annoying things hearing Hasan say is like, Hasan fans and Hasan always have references, since he just said at one time that Hasan like does a lot of things in the background that you'll never hear about with his money. Which I think is complete fucking bullshit. I'm not saying FD lied. What I am saying is that I think we have different expectations because like, FD isn't to people who are outside a socialist or communist, right? Much less an anarchist. I always have to include the anarchist homies. So I think as a rad lib, I'm sure that whatever Hasan told him seems sufficient, right? What am I saying? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I kind of want to move on from this, to be honest. Let's just, the actual conversation though. It was cool. I'm always happy to talk to Dr. Ball. I think that when FD breaks down the algorithm game, he's on point, even though we don't like to hear that stuff, even though we don't like to consider that stuff. He's not incorrect in that regard. It's just not what we want to hear, or it's not something that we really want to consider. But there's a reason why he has over 1 million subscribers, because he understands the game. But he understands also the other layer of it, and he was doing a great job explaining it. We might think that we're doing this and we're doing that on here, but at the end of the day, all we're doing is, turning the wheels. We're just a cog in the fucking YouTube machine. That I understand and I agree with. There's no real way of avoiding that unless we're going to go and hop on and start ranting on some corner street on our soapbox, right? Anyway, I don't feel like I really got to speak to Little Bill, which is fine. He was busy. I don't think that the things that I raised were addressed by him. But again, because Dr. Ball was there, we were going back and forth. And I do want to say, I re-listened to the conversation. I think I need to listen to it one more time, at least, to really understand what, or maybe we should just have a conversation about it. What the actual contention was in regards to European Jews and whiteness. Because I know that sometimes I could be a little bit defensive in my positions, which I try not to be. I cannot express how much I held back in that conversation when Bill was present to listen, and to give space, right, to have the conversation. And I did lose it at one point. I did lose it a little bit. And even then, it was like a restraint. First time I had that type of conversation on stream, because the FD conversation was so different. It wasn't like, it was more like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck are you doing? Rather than, what the fuck did you just say? Right? Which is where I was with Little Bill. But look, these are big fish. They're going to keep on swimming, and we're going to keep doing our thing. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. All right. La banda de Cero Roja. A ver. I don't know this one.
Dicen que venían del sur en un carro colorado, traían 100 kilos de coca, iban con rumbo a Chicago. Así lo dijo el soplón que los había denunciado. Ya habían pasado la aduana.
For all of you non-Spanish speakers, he's literally describing like a drug run, talking about like where they're transporting the snow. I'm horrible with names. And also remember, I'm not over here claiming anything. I don't claim que soy de calle. I don't claim anything that I'm not. And I even struggle to claim the things that I am, right? I feel gross when I say I'm a labor organizer when by definition I am. But anyway, I didn't grow up con narco corridos. I didn't grow up with rancheras. I mean, the popular ones like Chente or you know, when Juan Gabriel would do some rancheras, Joan Sebastian a little bit. Like, yeah, sure, that. But very, very surface level radio play hits. But I didn't grow up with that fucking like Chalino. I didn't grow up with Chalino. The Riveras, I didn't really care for them, to be honest. To this day, I don't really care for their music. Paquita, sure. I grew up more with the alternative sound of modern Spanish music of the like 90s, right? I was obsessed with Shakira, like her, bro. Like, look, if I believe in a conspiracy, like a clone conspiracy. If I believe in a clone conspiracy, it's Shakira. At one point, she got body swapped. At one point. Because that's how drastic her artistic, lyrical potency was compared to whatever happened after. And it kind of reminds me a lot of before Fergie, there was a female, a black female artist in the Black Eyed Peas that refused to be sexualized. But what, I'm a man, so I'm machista, whatever. It's not like Shakira didn't have fucking hits afterwards, right? But her first album is legit a fucking classic, bro. Every track. Ghostwriters, but why wouldn't you keep them? Why wouldn't you keep them? You get what I'm saying? Or why wouldn't you keep some of that? Like, look, I'm not saying that she wrote all her songs, but I'm like, the spirit of that, man, this is gonna be a long fucking stream. I just realized. Like, there's no hint of who she was at all. That's the scary part. PS casos, this song right, man.
Perteneciste a una raza antigua, de pies descalzos y de sueños blancos. Fuiste polvo, polvo, eres piensa que el hierro siempre al calor es blando.
Super 90s. Super fucking 90s.
Tú mordiste la manzana y renunciaste al paraíso y condenaste a una serpiente siendo tú el que así lo quiso por milenios.
Literally saying like, you're the one that bit the apple. You denounced paradise and you blamed it on a serpent, despite you being the one that wanted it. Like, where have you seen this type of my audio's though? Or the song? Yeah, I mean the song's, it's fine. Where have you seen this type of like lyricism or energy? It's just, it disappeared. Like when I introduce people to Shakira's like early work, who may know Shakira from like She Wolf or more modern songs, they'll be like, they'll be like surprised, like what? Like he sounds like a completely different fucking artist, which is cool. You want to see an artist develop. But like lyrically, like for example, y'all know I love the Arctic Monkeys. I'm not a hipster. Like I love some mainstream bands. It is what it is. People complain about before the car, Tranquility Hotel and Casino, that the sound was so different. And I'm like, sure, the sound is very different, mainly because Alex stopped writing music from the, using a guitar and went to piano. But lyrically, talking about a hotel that has been basically ghost towned on the moon and reminiscing about the days when that hotel, the casino on the moon was fucking popping, right? Like that type of lyricism has always been present about space and space travel, has always been present in Alex's lyrics. If you go back from their fucking like singles, it's always been there. Just not to that, like, not with that sound and not to that extent. I wish Tranquility Hotel and Casino was a complete concept album. I don't think it truly was, although it's kind of pitched that way, and you could make the argument, I guess, but I don't see it as such. Anywho, yeah, I mean, bro, I was literally talking about listening to Leonard Cohen earlier today, and Dylan. Like, here's the story of the hurricane, the man who the authorities came to blame. To the white folks, he was a revolutionary bird. I think that's but to black people, he's just a crazy, like, he uses the N-word. You know what I mean? So I am kind of like artist versus art kind of thing. Anyway, super fucking distracted. Ah, man, don't get me started with Alejandro Sanz. Corazón Partido is like a classic, but Amiga Mia is like so fucking solid too. Dude. Why are we fucking lovers? You know, growing up with shit like this, that's why.
Ya lo ves que no hay dos simples, que la vida va y viene y que no se detiene, qué sé yo. Pero miénteme aunque sea, dime que algo queda entre nosotros.
Lie to me. Lie to me. Tell me that there's something that remains between us. God damn.
Dos, que en tu habitación nunca sale el sol, ni existe el tiempo ni el dolor. Llévame si quieres a perder a ningún destino sin ningún porqué. Ya lo sé, mi corazón que no ve, es corazón que no siente, corazón que te miente, amor. Pero sabes que en lo más profundo de mi alma sigue aquel dolor por creer en ti, que fue de la ilusión y de lo bello que es vivir. ¿Para qué me curaste cuando estaba herido si hoy me dejas de nuevo el corazón partido?
He says, why did you cure me? Why did you heal me when I was heartbroken? When now you leave me with my heart broken once again. Why would you fix me? Why would you heal me? Why would you show me love and then abandon me and leave me brokenhearted again? God damn.
¿Quién me va a entregar sus emociones? ¿Quién me va a pedir que nunca la abandone?
Who's going to give me their emotions? Who's going to beg me, ask me to never abandon her?
¿Quién me tapará esta noche si hace frío?
Who is going to cover me tonight if it gets cold?
¿Quién me va a curar el corazón partido?
Who's going to cure my broken heart? And of course, La Tortura with Shakira is a fucking little fucking toxic ass relationship anthem with an amazing beat.
Ay, palita mía, guárdate la poesía, guárdate la alegría para ti.
Sean de fiesta y tampoco te pido que vuelvas rogando perdón si lloras con los ojos secos.
She tells him, I'm also not asking you, because she's leaving him. I'm not asking you to come back like a lost bird, because you cry with dry eyes. Crocodile tears.
Y hablando de ella, ay amor, me duele tanto que te fueras sin decir a dónde. Ay amor, fue una tortura perderte.
Yo sé que no he sido un santo, pero lo puedo arreglar, amor.
I know I have not been a saint, but I could fix it, baby. I could fix it, my love. I could fix it, amor. The trash fucking man you gotta be to say that. Look, I may have stepped out of line. I ain't a saint. I never said I was. But I could fix it. I could get better at this. I love this song, bro. It's so fucking toxic. It's so fucking bad. For those of you that are new here, no, we normally don't do this, but I am prone to getting heavily distracted. Y'all started me with the music, so here we go. All you need to do is leave your man, and you will live off of excuses. Like, that's how much excuses you're gonna have. You're gonna be able to sell those motherfuckers. You're gonna be able to build a fucking home made out of excuses. You know what I mean? He literally says, you only learn from mistakes. You know how desgraciado, shameless you have to be to tell your lady, look, we can only learn from our mistakes. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. But then he goes on, but now I know. Now I know that my love, my heart is only for you. That shit always reminds me of in Boy Meets World, like the later seasons, when Corey ends up leaving Topanga and then realizing he made a mistake. Actually, he ends up leaving her for a young who's the actress from Freaks and Geeks. She plays Velma in Scooby-Doo, and she was fucking amazing in DTF St. Louis. I forget her name. She's stunning, but just an amazing actress. Underrated actress. He's not wrong, but he is trash. Yeah.
Mejor te guardas todo eso, te perras con ese guaso y nos decimos adiós. Yo puedo pedir que te entreguen peras, pero un simple amor, diles.
Ay, amor, me duele tanto.
This was saying it hurts.
Me duele tanto que no creas más en mis
It hurts me. It hurts me so much that you no longer believe in my promises. Oh, man. The shit that you could pitch to Latinos is crazy. It's wild, excuse me. This fool got caught up. And he's saying that it hurts him. It brings him pain that she no longer believes his fucking promises, bro.
promesas.
Ay, amor,
Es una tortura.
perderte.
Yo sé que no es ilusión.
Mejor te guardas tú.
No me bajes. Oye, negrita, mira, no te rajes. De lunes a viernes tienes mi amor. Déjame sábado a mí que es mejor.
This is my favorite part of the song. Because he stops begging and starts negotiating. He stops begging and starts negotiating. All right? So this is what he says.
Tienes mi amor. Déjame sábado a mí. Negrita, mira, no te rajes. De lunes a viernes tienes mi amor.
De lunes a viernes tienes mi amor. So from Monday through Friday, you will have my love. From Monday. Mind you, I'm like, what year did the song come out in? What year was La Tortura released? I misspelled everything there. 2005. So, I was 11 singing this track. This mother said, yeah, business hours only. From Monday through Friday, you will have my love. I can promise you that, he says.
Déjame sábado a mí que es mejor.
Déjame el sábado el mejor. Déjame el sábado el mejor. Leave me Saturday, because that's the best day of the week. From Monday through Friday, tienes mi amor, you have my love. Leave me Saturday. Just, he's asking for one day out of the week. He's asking for one day out of the week. I mean, if you think about it, mathematically speaking, she's winning because she has the majority of the days. But all he's saying is just leave me Saturday. It's the best day of the week. 11 years old singing this fucking track. Oh, man. So fucking good. So fucking good. So fucking good. Yeah, man. That is a great, great fucking song. So fucking dumb. Man. All right. All right. Can we focus? Can we lock in? Let's focus. Let's lock in. All right. Yeah. You know, what do you want me to say? And then they want to blame brown men. They want to blame Latinos when we have been conditioned and socialized by media to behave in these self-destructive ways. So in reality, we are victims of our environment. We are victims of the Spanish mass media. And of course, it's I gotta go through one more. There's the classic right here. This one right here, classic. If you hear this song and you plan to stay sober, run. You will not complete the mission. But no, that's actually not. No, that's not the one I was. Yes, this song's brutal, but no, this is not the one I'm thinking about. I was thinking about because that's my favorite Chente song. That's why I went to it. Oh, somebody literally said El Rey, right? Is it El Rey? Is it El Rey that I'm thinking about? No. He says, tengo un... Y son mujeres. Is it Chente? Is it Chente thing? Y son mujeres. I think it's gonna be this right here. The fuck is this? Tengo un plan y son mujeres. Is it this one? It's Joan Sebastian. No, is it? Oh, it is. Which I love. I love Joan Sebastian. And for my defense, Joan Sebastian. Is it Tragos? No, that's Ramon Ayala. In my defense, Joan Sebastian wrote a lot of tracks for a lot of artists, including Chente. I'm not a poser. I kind of am. If we're talking about mujeriegos, if we're talking about girls, Joan Sebastian. Te irá mejor sin mí. You'll be better off without me. Sorry. Somebody says that fool sings and rides horses. If you didn't do both, you weren't legit. Prerequisite. It's not that you have to fucking know how to dance. You have to know how to ride a horse and fucking sing.
No quiero que regreses.
Te irá mejor sin mí, no quiero que regreses. You're better off without me. I don't want you to return.
La cruda es moral.
La cruda es moral.
I'm afraid of like.
I guess, is he referring to the cure or is he referring to a hangover?
La pago con creces. Te irá mejor sin mí. Hazte un favor, no vuelvas.
So you're better off without me. Do yourself a favor. Do not return. Bro is serenading her, begging her. I am bad for you. Stay away. Ladies. Hey, ladies. If a man writes you a song, a love song, telling you, I am bad for you, do not lie to me. Be honest with your toxic ass and tell me what you would do. Tell me what you would do. Because you're not staying away. Can we be honest?
Hazte un favor, no vuelvas. Es la oportunidad. Que tu vida resuelvas. Yo no soy
It's a little low. Let me find the actual song. Even though that was cool to see. The audio's a little off on that. Nah, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. It's fine. I'll translate. It's fine. It's fine.
No quiero que regreses. La cruda es moral. Hazte un favor, no vuelvas. Es la oportunidad.
He's telling her you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity.
Que tu vida resuelvas.
That you can resolve your life. Me telling you to leave me is an opportunity for you to get your shit together, is what he's saying.
Yo no soy
I am not.
el hombre que tú quieres.
I am not the man that you want. I am not the man that you want. There's a Dylan track actually very reminiscent to this. It's a great fucking song as well. But you're saying I'm not the man that you want.
Mi problema
Iralas, this is what I'm talking about. Iralas, singing that shit with every fiber of their being.
el hombre que tú quieres. Mi problema
My problem is,
es ver si son mujeres.
I have a problem. I'm gonna tell you what my problem is. My problem are women. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Pardon me. Before he says my problem are women, he says my problem is beautiful. I have a beautiful problem, and that problem is women. What the fuck? It ain't me, babe. Thank you so much. Yes, Jerry Burns got it down.
Te irá mejor sin mí.
One of the fucking greatest. One of the greatest songwriters, singers.
Te irá mejor sin mí.
You're better off without me.
Encuentra un hombre bueno.
Go find yourself a good man, he's saying, right? Yep. Go find yourself a good man. Imagine hearing this shit, bro. Imagine hearing this shit. He's telling her, go find yourself another man, a good man. Because he ain't here.
Un hombre bueno. No es por exagerar.
I am not exaggerating.
Yo siempre he sido ajeno.
I am not exaggerating. I have always been this way. And I ain't gonna change, is what he's saying.
Te irá mejor sin mí.
Better off without me.
Espero que lo entiendas.
I hope, I expect you to understand this. This better get through to you. I am saying it word for word. I'm not waving a red flag. I'm draping myself around the red flag.
Me encanta tu mirar.
Now here's a switch up. Now here's the sucker punch. Here's where it's at. I love your stare. Tu mirada. Tus ojos, essentially, right? Like your look. Right? How you look at me. So he says all this shit that I'm trash, get away from me, go find yourself a good man. Oh, by the way. By the way. Me encanta tu mirada. You can't, you know what I mean? It's a lost art.
Pero es mejor sin vernos.
But it's better. This what we have here, meaning like the way you're staring off. I love your look, right? The way that you can look off into the distance or whatever. Just the way you look when you're staring. I love it. But it's better sin vendas, meaning it's better without blindfolds. Saying, I want you to see who I am. I want you to know what I'm about. So I'm telling you all this. Hint, hint, so that if you choose to stay, you know what you're getting into.
Yo no soy
I am not
el hombre que tú
the man
quieres.
that you want.
Mi problema
My problem
es bello y son mujeres.
is beautiful and it's women.
Te irá mejor sin mí.
You're better off without me. Beautiful, gorgeous horse, by the way. Gorgeous. Yeah, just amazing, man. Amazing, amazing. And that's not even my favorite track of his. Not even my favorite track of his. Mind you, we can't play here because I'll start crying. His son was murdered. His son was shot. His son was working security for him. And his son, man, it's rough. So there's a scuffle, and his son ends up getting shot and dies. He ends up writing. I sound like a horse. He ends up writing a song for his son, because he said that he had a dream and his son visited him in that dream. And I don't want children. I don't want children. And then his son told him to stop mourning him. Man. So his son visits him in his dream, tells him, stop mourning me, stop feeling sad over me, stop writing these songs about me. The song is so goddamn beautiful. Just think, that's how beautiful the song is. Just thinking about it, I'm like, because you could think about the song, but once you make, or you remember the connection of why he wrote the song. This is how powerful the song is. He could not sing it. He could not perform it. He could not record it. So he asked Vicente Fernandez, Chente, right? Who we just saw. Who I mistook. I forgot who sang this track here. He asked them, because they're lifelong friends, can you be the one to sing this and record this? And I think before Johann Sebastian died, he did end up singing it. But yeah, it's such a tragic song. Yeah, that's the problem, y'all. Look, I'm cool to have these kind of back and forths, music and stuff, but yes, Keith says this VOD gonna get DMCA'd and I'm here for it. Yeah, so I'm not, so look, I appreciate all the support. Patreon, $2 gets you access to the Discord. I promise usually we're more organized and we talk about news and stuff like that. Every now and then I'll get pulled in to talk about music and be give a little bit of culture, I guess. I don't know, or just, just go through it. This is very surface level stuff, nothing wild, but it's nice. You know what I mean? A pleasant reminder that I am brown, apparently. But if you want to support the channel, go ahead and, hit up the super chat, super stickers, the Cash App, the Patreon. I appreciate y'all so much. And I mean, it's part of the reason why I'm able to have fun like this and not worried about being DMCA'd or willing to get this pooled or whatnot. But yes, what is the song? Yeah, it's this one. Actually, no, I'm so dumb. It is Vicente Fernandez. Humilde Primaveras, no? Yeah. It's this one right here. I want the lyrics though. Is that YouTube not offer that?
¿Te molesta si te hablo de mi amor?
Does it bother you if I talk about my love?
y me pides por favor olvide el tema.
And you ask me, please forget the topic.
Y que cambie la letra de mis canciones.
And that I should change the letters to my songs, or the words, excuse me, to my songs.
Y tu nombre quite ya de aquel poema.
And for me to remove your name from my poems. Remember, he said he had a dream. When the reason why he wrote this song and then stopped writing about his son, that he had a dream that his son visited him and said, "Stop mourning me, stop writing about me." So this is a song to his son saying, "It bothers you that I talk about, sing about my love for you." You've asked me beyond the grave to forget your death, this subject. You've asked me to remove your name from my poems that I've written for you.
Te molesta, aguanta por favor.
I know it bothers you, but please, 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 just wait. I want that. Like, hold on.
Te lo juro, estoy a punto de olvidarte.
I swear to you. Just hold on. Just I want that. Hold on. I swear to you. I'm about to forget you. Estoy a punto de, I'm about to. I'm at the point of forgetting you.
Solo falta 1.000.000 de primaveras. Unos cuantos siglos solo he de adorarte.
God damn. Look, I know there's a song about I always forget primaveras is spring, right? Primaveras. English. Yeah, springtime. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. So he says, remember he says, you are bothered that I sing about my love for you. You've asked me to please forget you, forget the subject. To change the words of my songs, to remove your name from my poems. I know it bothers you, but please hold on a little bit. I promise you I'm about to forget you. All I need is 1,000,000 springs. Unos cuantos siglos. Just a few millennia. Is all I need to adore you. Just give me a few. Siglos is 100 years, right? Ages, yeah, but what's an age? Yeah, 100 years, a century. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I'm translating properly. So all he needs is 1,000,000 springs and a few 100 years to adore his son before he can forget him. And so, you know, after that, I'll be done bothering you. After you give me 1,000,000 springs and a couple hundred years, I'll forget you.
Solo falta 1.000.000 de primaveras. Después de eso ya no vuelvo a molestarte. Oh no, no volveré a cantarte. Si te molesta, si te molesta.
Like, oh no, I will not sing to you again I will not sing about you again if it bothers you. Remember, he could not sing the song. Ask his homie to sing it for him.
Te molesta el perro que ladró.
It bothers you, the dog that's, always barking.
De alegría anunciando tu llegada.
Who was barking out of happiness, because you were arriving. So the dog was barking because you were coming home.
Y me dices que ese perro está loco.
And you tell me that dog is crazy.
Que le ladra a la persona equivocada.
That he's barking at the wrong person.
Yo te digo, por favor, aguanta un poco.
And I tell you, please just hold on a little bit.
Ten paciencia, no le des otra pedrada.
Be patient. Don't throw him another stone.
Oh no, no volverá a ladrarte.
Don't worry about it. He won't bark at you again.
Si te molesta, si te molesta.
If it bothers you, if it bothers you.
Solo falta 1,000,000 de primaveras. Unos cuantos siglos solo he de adorarte.
Ah, beautiful song, beautiful song, beautiful song. Man. We're all over the map, huh? Pancho. I'm so sorry, Pancho. I'm sorry, brother. Pancho says, I lost my partner 5 years ago. The 14th would have been our 45th birthday. Would have been her 45th birthday. This is helping me remember. Un pinche abrazote, Pancho. Big old hug for you, Pancho. Yeah, I mean, look, it was a song written father to a son, but it basically, the message is the same if you lost anyone. You could ask me. You could ask me to no longer miss you. To no longer mourn you. To no longer think about you. You could ask me that, and I will. I promise you, I will. After 1,000,000 years, after 100 years of missing you, of adoring you, of keeping your memory alive. Soy chillón. I'm a crybaby. I get that. But I feel very fortunate to have grown up around this type of music. If you wonder why we get drunk and sing and cry, this is why. Because you grow up, even me and not being entrenched in this type of older generation, or in the older generation, right? Being a product of young individuals, I was still around enough to have seen, the old heads destroy, 32 packs after 32 packs, and sing these beautiful songs and knock out to that music on white folding chairs. Ay. But let me give you just a palate cleanser to show the generational difference. Is it Limón y Sal? What's her name? Julieta Venegas. But there's is it Limón y Sal though? Or is it it is, yeah, or Eres para mí. I think it's Limón y Sal. I'll show you. It should be on YouTube. Let's see. Whoa. Hopefully I spelled that right. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let's see. Maybe old fathers. I don't know. Shoot. So just showing the difference between generations of what songs they used to sing, which is like Chente, Chalino, all these rancheras. And somebody asked, is Los Tigres del Norte considered narco corridos? They have songs that are narco corridos, right? I think that's the big difference. I have it right here. Let me make sure I find it. It's a link, so it should be media link stocks. Okay. Give me 1 second. These are not the links I'm looking for. These are like, oh, links. Okay. Oh, it actually might be a TikTok video. That's funny. It's not that one. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, chat. I promise it'll be funny. Not that one either. How long ago was this? Am I not gonna be able to find it? I don't think we shared that many TikTok clips. Give me 1 sec, chat. Appreciate y'all. That's funny. Twitch. Okay. I'm getting there. Or was it? Nope. Damn, what the fuck? That's a bummer. I don't think I'm gonna find it. What the fuck? Thought I had it. I'm sorry, y'all. That's a great song too, Juan Gabriel. One last check. Let me check one last time. Pregúntenme. I could have sworn it was before Frankenstein came out. And I also thought that it was on... That's a cat video. No, that's Guillermo del Toro. Wow, yeah, I'm not going to find it. That's a bummer. Maybe this one. Los Temerarios, yeah. Damn, I know this isn't the most entertaining, but I thought it was going to be funny. My apologies, y'all. But yeah, it was literally just a... like old fathers reacting to their son singing Limón y Sal by Julieta Venegas. That I thought I had here. Damn it. Yeah, I'm not finding it. My bad. My bad. Well, I gotta move on because it's gonna bother me. This is not entertaining. My apologies. Damn, bro. I thought I had it. Oh, well. All right. I do need to blow my nose, though. Give me 1 sec, chat. Give me 1 sec. Appreciate y'all. We've been like for an hour and a half. Jesus, bro. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to everything I wanted to get to. Give me 1 sec. Let me blow my nose. And let me put some... Let me pull up this classic. I mean, I'm sure y'all have seen it. But just in case you haven't, let me just put this on. That circular colonizer mentality, right? That makes no sense at all. They're calling for like the assimilation of Palestinians, the indigenous population, into the Zionist project. That is their solution because that's what they saw here, and it's worked out great for them, right? So, again, I asked earlier, but he kind of fell off. My question was, if we agree that every Zionist isn't necessarily a Jewish supremacist, right? Because you have like your Joe Biden, who's a Catholic, even though he claims to be Zionist. Is it that every Euro-American Jewish person who is Zionist is inherently a Jewish supremacist?
And I think that I understand the point that you're getting at, and I do agree with it. I think that my hang up comes in the usage, specifically the usage of the phrase Jewish supremacy, because of the connotation that it carries with it. That is
what
my
more do you
hang
need
up
them to
with
do
it.
in Palestine?
Say it again.
What more do you need them to do in Palestine?
Oh no. Well, again, what I'm saying is that, and this is the point that I keep coming back, and I'm sorry, I gotta hop off after this. Is that we have language to describe this, in my opinion. It's Zionism. This is what Zionism is. I don't believe that we need to delineate any further. I don't believe that we need to distinguish any further, because regardless of if you believe that all Palestinians need to be exterminated or subjugated for the maintenance of a Jewish ethno state, if you are actively funding that, then you are complicit in it. You are a Zionist by definition. So we already have that establishment. And because we have that establishment, I don't believe that it's necessary to delineate any further and say, okay, well, we got these Zionists over here, and then these super duper Zionists over here that we're going.
I would love though to hear some criticisms of me. Yeah, my positions for sure, but also like my delivery. That I'm always eager to hear, so I can get better, be more articulate, or to articulate myself better, to deliver my message better. I did find it though. I did find it. Here it is. Los tíos viendo la siguiente generación, the uncles, the unks, if you will. I never cap. Watching the next generation.
Y dice, por eso esperaba con la carita empapada que llegaras con rosas para mí, porque ya sabes que me trata de las cosas que no importa si es muy tonto, soy así. No me parece mentira que se escape mi vida imaginando que vuelves a pasarte por aquí.
What? Sorry, it's not Julieta Venegas. It's Oreja de Van Gogh, no? It's Oreja. Look, I go times where I only listen to Spanish music. How do you oreja? No. Oreja. How do you spell oreja? Yeah. It is Oreja de Van Gogh. Huh? Rosas, isn't it? I mean, that's a bigger song. Yeah.
En un día de estos en que suelo pensar, hoy va a ser el día menos pensado.
So yeah, of all these days that I'm thinking about this, today will be the day I'll think about it the least or less. And it's just hilarious seeing that generational kind of divide where these guys would have been singing Chente, right? And they'll be like, yo, like what the like, and looking at these young lads singing this song, that is, you know, very from a female perspective, you know, a female singer, very feminine, coded. And this kind of the big reason why, and I've mentioned this in previous streams, of like, what song makes you feel pretty? You know what I mean? Broadly speaking.
Nos hemos cruzado, has decidido mirar a los ojitos azules que ahora van a tu lado.
And again, you have the Lisp. I'm not a big fan of, but it's a nice track.
Desde el momento en el que te conocí, resumiendo con prisas tiempo de silencio, te juro que a nadie le he vuelto a decir que tenemos el récord del mundo en querernos.
So since the moment that we met, resumiendo con presas tiempos de silencio. I don't know how to. I wouldn't know how to translate that, to be honest with you. But she says, "I swear to you that I have never once again told someone that we have held the record." We have held the world record of loving each other, de querernos, right?
Por eso esperaba con la carita empapada que llegaras con rosas, mil rosas para mí.
And that is why I waited for you with my face like blush, empapada, for you to arrive with roses, a million roses for me.
Porque ya sabes que me encantan esas cosas que no importa si es muy tonto, soy así.
Because you know that I love those things, those little things. You know, bring me a million roses. You know I love that stuff. I don't care if it's stupid. That's how I am.
No me parece mentira que se escape mi vida imaginando que vuelves a pasar por aquí.
And it still seems to be a lie that I'm living a lie. That it has escaped from my life, imagining that you would return, you know, and come around these parts, around here.
Donde los viernes cada tarde como siempre la esperanza dice quieta quizás sí.
Where every Friday night, like always, la esperanza, the hope, tells me, quieta, be calm, and maybe he'll return. But yes. It's a breakup song.
Escapando una noche de un bostezo de sol, me pediste que te diera un beso.
You asked me to give you a kiss.
Con lo baratos que salen, mi amor, que te cuesta callarme con uno de esos.
With how cheap or how, you know, accessible those kisses, you know, how freely, I should say, would be a better translation. How freely you give me those kisses. ¿Qué te cuesta? What does it cost you? Or what's the big deal to shut me up with one of them kisses? Right?
Pasaron 6 meses y me dijiste adiós.
We spent 6 months together, and then he said peace. He said goodbye.
Un placer coincidir en esta vida.
It was a pleasure to have met you in this life.
Ahí me quedé, una mano el corazón y en la otra excusas que ni tú entendías.
Ahí me quedé. So I stood there with one hand on my heart. Y la otra, the other hand, making excuses yeah, making excuses that you didn't even understand. Then the chorus repeats that I was waiting for you with, my face blushed, hoping that you come with roses, a million roses, because you know that all those, although those things are dumb, that's who I am. But yeah, it's a cute song. And then we'll skip a little bit forward here. It's because I started to think that true love is only like the first thing. And so I started to become suspicious that the rest, meaning the other lovers, are only meant to be forgotten. And the chorus repeats. But yes, this live stream is for sure getting pulled. I'm surprised it hasn't already. And so, the old timers over here kind of shocked, surprised that like these are singing this song from the female perspective. Heartbreak nonetheless. But they're like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, wishing about women. Yeah, Oreja's ear. It's basically Van Gogh's ear, the one that he chopped off, is the name of the band. So I just love this. It just goes to show a healthy progress, not a completed one, of brown men. But yeah. So, this group of guys over here singing like, oh, I was the one wishing that you'd come back, that you've arrived with a million roses for me. I do want to point out that there seems to be like the older guy of this group. And so he might be stuck in the middle between these two generations. And so it's cute that he's at least trying, But these fucking younger guys are all with it. This fool starts like slamming his fist, which is hilarious. He's feeling that shit for real. And then the other homie was ready to go. As soon as he stepped out, it's like boom. He was rushing. He was probably in the bathroom. Motherfucker probably did not wash his hands, barely shook it, and he was rushing because like I want to jump on that track. But I do love this generational clash right there. All right, we are an hour and 30 minutes into the stream. Are y'all done distracting me? Are we gonna lock in? After like Sony and whatever, like 2 other record labels have survived, how's that gonna work? Are gonna sue me to death over this? 90 minutes of music, that's right. Look, I'm telling you, like I really want to, once I get my shit together, do a stream with the ear doctor and just kind of, I don't know, like I think there's something awesome about being a DJ in the sense of like, and maybe because growing up going to quinceañeras, fiestas, as well as all this shit, the DJs, at least from my perspective, usually part of the family or family friend, right? So it's not just some random, but yeah, like DJing parties and keeping the vibe going is such a important part. So I would really enjoy being like, dude, how do you keep your energy? Like, how do you deal with a bad crowd? I think it's all vibes in the sense of like feeling people, knowing what they need, knowing what's gonna work, like all that stuff I'm interested in. But yes. Cafecito, Pancho. All right. It's because you fools are giving me like suggestions of songs to listen to. All right. Bro, spawn stomps, Bigoro. What are we doing here? It's not even fair. Well, I don't know. The power scales in Dragon Ball are so fucking are fucked. All right. Let's lock in. I'm gonna ignore y'all for a minute. I hope you understand. Okay. I'm gonna hide the chat from me. All the chats. So if I accidentally mute myself, we're fucked. All right, y'all are hidden from me for a second. We're just gonna lock in on this. So shout out to 12 Cases. I know they talked about the Edgar haircut. I know they talked about this. It's something that I haven't really given too much thought about. Mainly because, bro, I was the whole, oh, you're a rocker, huh, fool? Like I was more along those lines than keeping up with whatever culturally was happening with first generation, like Pochos, Chicanos, Mexican Americans. I was rocking out, bro. So I missed certain waves. Apparently there was like a double lineup thing happening at some point. I never got a fade until I was like well into high school, like things like that. Just again, different genre, different spaces. The Edgar haircut is like synonymous with like street takeovers, fucking trocas que si queman, all these things, right? I did not know that it was crossing borders in this regard, in the sense that I had seen versions of it in different like subcultures throughout Latin America, but I didn't know it was a straight up like 1-to-1. From what I had seen prior, it was always a version of it, not necessarily the exact thing. So this was a little interesting to find out. We're not always on the same page, right? Either we're late over here in the belly of the beast to pick things up, or we're just completely on a different wave. So I was surprised about this. But yes, El Salvador banned the Edgar haircut, a bowl cut style with straight bangs, in public schools as part of restoring discipline. Again, this is the type of shit that like you would hear about North Korea, type of propaganda about dictating what type of haircut is allowed and banned. And Bukele saying, what must be done leaves no room for hesitation. What? Like, this is the wild part. Like, mind you, with Siko and the Constitution being suspended, it's just like, what is to be done? It sounds like you're ready to like mass graves, disappearance, which in a sense you're doing, but it's being applauded, right? Because it was at first targeting, gang members and whatnot. But this is when you give fascist power. They always use the pretext of criminality. They always use that as a scapegoat to gain full control and never release it. And then that's when they start targeting the opposition. So, to say this, to be so, to foreshadow something in such a negative way, of like, yeah, we're about to exterminate large parts of the country. The type of feel that you get from this fascist. In relation to a fucking haircut is almost like comic book Saturday morning cartoon villain type of shit. Like you would see this in a villain of Kids Next Door forcing a particular type of haircut. I'm honestly, I would not be shocked if that was an episode where everyone was forcing a military cut, except number one, of course. But this is just ridiculous. And apparently, this is, for whatever reason, this was what tweeted out yesterday. It's not even current news. This is from August 22nd, 2025. Edgar haircuts, mohawks prohibited in El Salvador, schools, after military captain becomes education minister. So I don't understand why now this is becoming news, but I mean, I didn't hear about it the first time, so I'm grateful. Let's see. Oscar Milara, the director of the technical school in El Salvador, stations himself at the front gate every day to inspect dress code compliance as students file in. Milara checks for infractions such as shirts missing a monogram or name tag, dirty shoes, and long haircuts. He is following a directive issued by the nation's new education minister, military captain Carla Trigueros. While dress codes have long existed throughout the nation's public schools, Trigueros' directive gives administrators the power to ding students' grades or require community service if they do not comply. Right. Because how they dress represents their knowledge or their capacity or willingness to like learn. This is the thing with fashions. Like they truly fucking hate education, and they hate any form of self-expression. We thank the minister because this allows us to correct and better our students, Milada said. Local media showed videos of barbershops with lines out the doors as students chopped off their locks, with some offering specials to take advantage of the new order. Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele reposted a message on X cheering the new guidelines, which no longer allow hairstyles such as the mohawk or so-called Edgar cut. The bowl cut-like style, popularized in recent years by young Latinos, particularly in the US. Okay, so this is something that was culturally exported. Trigueros herself has toured schools in recent days, often with a slick-back bun and dressed in military fatigues. Teacher groups have opposed her naming. The Salvadorian teacher front, in a statement last week, said putting a military official in charge of education was absurd, and that it harkened back to the nation's decades under military dictatorship. Bukele, sharing the memorandum on X, argued that complete educational overhaul was needed in Central American nation. So, just to wrap up here, the leader is popular in El Salvador after launching a widespread gang crackdown that has slashed crime rates, though rights groups say innocent people have been caught up in the dragnet. His party recently passed a constitutional reform, scrapping presidential term limits, which critics say opens the door to Bukele staying in power indefinitely. Yeah, he's never going away. It's only going to get worse from here. It's been worse. And this is what happens when you give fascists power. I did want to check this out here. El Salvador's Bukele swears a military captain. The fuck is this? Oh, router charges? That's funny. That's not happening. Let me see his tweet then. Wasn't there a link to one of his tweets that I'm missing here? The naming there. Oh no, there was no link. He just references it. But something a little bit more serious, but not unrelated or unconnected, is this. El Salvador publishes law allowing life sentences for minors as young as 12. And so if tattoos were enough to make you complicit or to label you a member of a gang, hairstyles for young kids might be enough in the near future. El Salvador has published a new law that will allow authorities to penalize minors as young as 12 with life imprisonment for severe crimes, including homicide, terrorism, or rape. On Tuesday, the Salvadorian government released a law which is slated to take effect on April 26. The change is part of a suite of hardline policies designed to stamp out gang violence in El Salvador, but critics have warned that such measures risk perpetrating grave human rights abuses. Since March 2022, El Salvador has been under a state of emergency that has suspended certain civil liberties in favor of greater police and military powers, essentially under dictatorship rule for 4 years. And the only reason it's not seen as such is because it's an American ally, it's because it's doing Trump favors with SICOT. Initially designed to last 30 days, the state of emergency has been renewed dozens of times, and over that time, El Salvador's government has carried out a campaign of mass arrest and imprisonment. More than 90,000 people have been imprisoned. Groups like Human Rights Watch estimate that nearly 1.9% of the population is behind bars, one of the highest rates in the world. Some detainees are held without charges. Others have been processed in mass trials. A process approved in 2023 to allow up to 900 people to be tried at once. 900 people, man. That is preposterous. El Salvador's Congress votes to allow mass trials in gang crackdown. Fucking, that's a nightmare, bro. El Salvador's Congress has approved group trials for the tens of thousands of people arrested during President Bukele's crackdown on criminal gangs, which has given the country one of the world's highest incarceration rates. Wednesday's legislation will allow prosecutors to simultaneously try hundreds of people alleged to be part of the same criminal group or from the same area of the Central American country. Jesus, bro. El Salvador has been under a state of emergency for 16 months, sparking remember this is from, what's the date? July 2023. 2023, and they're already saying 16 months. Sparking arrests of more than 71,900 alleged gang members. Some 6,000 people have been released, official data show. Legislators from Bukele's New Idea Party, which has a majority in Congress, said the measure seeks to boost order and efficiency. It passed by 67 votes in favor and 6 against. Justice Minister Gustavo Villatoro says up to 900 defendants from the same group can be prosecuted at a time. The state of emergency has been popular among Salvadorians. Proponents point to a significant drop in homicides and crimes such as extortion and drug dealing. But the policy has drawn criticism from El Salvador and international rights groups, which say it has led to human rights abuse such as torture, death in custody, and arbitrary. I can't say it. I will want to say though, I was doing well. I was actually surprised how well I was doing in pronunciation. I bit the fuck out of my tongue yesterday training. In my defense, I had that belly pad on, and again we were training knees, and the coach was like, "Oh yeah, like you're gonna apply pressure, but you're gonna do it like this. Like you're not gonna go hard." Then he starts swinging or throwing knees, I should say, and I thought I misinterpreted what he was gonna do, and in trying to adjust myself in order to brace for the knees and for my defensive like posture or counter, I should say. In doing that, I ended up biting my tongue, and I was so pissed. And he realized, and he kind of laughed it off. But I guess something was going on that day where people were messing up. Earlier, he had mentioned that he had gotten he got hit below the belt by a student that misinterpreted what he was going to do. And so she threw a step in knee and got him, you know? So there was something in the air. I'm just having trouble pronouncing it.
Arbitrary.
Arbitrary.
Arbitrary. There we go. I think arbitrary detentions, particularly among young men in poorer neighborhoods. The legislator who passed the measure on Wednesday said people found not to have gang affiliations should be released. Opposition politicians and rights groups, however, say group trials risk depriving detainees of their right to due process and their individual presumption of innocence. I mean, you're literally making them a gang. It's trial by gang. Like, the trial is you are a gang already. You're being treated as if you're a collective, a gang. We're not arresting innocent people. We're arresting innocent people, but not keeping them, which turned into we're keeping them, but the courts will set them free eventually, said Manuel Melendez, a PhD candidate at Harvard University and researcher on Salvadorian politics. Ingrid Escobar, spokesperson for the Humanitarian Legal Aid, a group providing assistance to Salvadorian detainees, said prisoners are at risk of being tried for crimes they did not commit. She warned they could be prosecuted simply for living in a place stigmatized by gangs despite not necessarily being gang members themselves. On July 14th, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights organization denounced the death of 174 people in state custody, over 6,400 documented human rights abuses during the state of emergency. The government and Attorney General's office denied these allegations. Legislators also approved a bill that would raise the maximum sentence from gang leaders from 45 to 60 years. All right, let's go back to the main thing. I didn't know that about the 900 people, so I had to read it. The life sentence for minors was approved as part of a constitutional amendment in March, championed by El Salvador's President Bukele. The country's legislative assembly is overwhelmingly controlled by Bukele's Nueva Ideas party, or Nueva Ideas. That one's a little, look, I know we don't like Orwell around here, but that one's a little Orwellian, right? We are the New Ideas party. Who doesn't like a new idea? You know what I mean? It's fresh. It's new. Taking the first bite of El Puerco. Mac. Jared, that is fucking hilarious. That is fucking hilarious. I was all right. That was good. Millennials are killing capitalism says, thought you meant you bit your tongue with FD and Little Bill. Look, let's get that FD millennials are killing capitalism crossover happening. You know what I mean? Asked the bridge builder, Dr. Ball, to make it happen. Honestly, that'd be interesting. But that's just probably me liking a little chaos. What do you think, chat? It's so fucking good, man. I haven't had one in a while. Although, and this one barely has it. I do love when the skin, la piel del puerquito is a little bit more prominent. Like it's a different color than the rest of el pan dulce. But this is solid too. I haven't had one in a while. Con el café? Fuck, bro. Pan dulce y café? Fucking paradise. Your day, well, hopefully it isn't because it's usually, morning shit, but like your day could be going to shit. Cafecito, some pan. You're set. Ya estuvo. Whatever was bothering you throughout the day, gone. The caffeine, the sugar doing its job, like just combined. Boom. Shout out to all the Central American homies who can drink who can drink coffee at 9 p.m. before going straight to bed. I have seen it a couple times. I'm astonished. I'm amazed. Como somos los mexicanos con Chile, ustedes cabrones son con el café. It's next level shit, man. For the longest, I didn't know that Mexicans were like, I'm not saying like the top, like in a bragging way, but like the only ones or the major ones to eat like spicy food. I thought that if you were brown, you just ate spicy food. That was like wherever you were from, you ate spicy food, dude. I found out that people look at us like masochists. It's wild. But when it comes to coffee, Central Americans next level. What? I'm in a Mexican coffee shop and they don't have pan dulce. Bro, even Tierra Mia has pan dulce. Where you at, dog? Tell me, you don't got to give me another reason not to visit Chicago. No. But yeah. No manches, güey, Eduardo. Café y pan dulce con chile. That's crazy. Entonces no está dulce, güey. All right. Lindstack being ableist, of course, as all authority figures are. All right. It's getting hot in here. I keep wanting to put my hair up, but fighting the urge. All right. That helped. Where are we? On social media that month, Bukele denounced the amendment's opponents as lenient towards violent crime. Literally attacking fucking children, bro. Oh, but these children are monsters. And it's like, bro, like, yeah, children not known to be manipulated or pressured into doing things. Right. We should punish the child soldiers so that they don't grow up to be criminals. The fuck? We shall see who supports this amendment and who will dare to argue the Constitution should continue to prohibit murderers and rapists from remaining in prison, he wrote on March 17th. But in the days that followed its passage, groups including the United Nations Children's Fund voiced deep concern for the prospect that children could be sentenced to life behind bars. If you want to create real super predators, if you want to create true monsters, this is the way. This is how you go about it. And when I put on my tinfoil hat on some Suicide Squad shit, you cultivate, you put a child in this environment where they're forced to survive. And then you offer them freedom. If they help out the state, I'm just saying, we already see it where people offered, all right, join the military to avoid some time. Oh, you want to go out? Because you're sentenced to life and your entire life has been behind bars. And you have acquired some skills, some violent skills that the state can use. And so now you don't need mercenaries. I don't know. Again, maybe it's not fair for me to think that way, but again, it's like you're creating a lab to create. I mean, we're talking about super predators, we're talking about, like killing machines. What better way to create that than by forcing boys to grow up in these death camps? I don't know, man. I mean, I don't like thinking that way because it's very speculative. It is very conspiracy theory. But you're creating a killing machine in there. I don't know, man. My apologies if it's a little bit out of line for me to suggest that or think about that, I guess. But again, the way that child soldiers have been weaponized in civil wars and internal conflicts, that's where my head goes to. I don't think it's too much of a leap, but I do think that it's not substantiated. Gladiator Academy, yeah, some type of shit like that. No, I mean, I hear you, James. My thing is, there's one thing to be poor, impoverished, and needing money to do it, and bending your morals to a certain degree. And there's another thing where you're. That's what I'm saying. Like it's a laboratory to create the most violent individual, to push a human being to the edge, to where their fucking sensory and their brain is just fried. Just violence, both from other inmates and, the staff, the personnel. It's just, man. Either way, it's not a recipe for anything constructive. All right. UNICEF warned that imprisonment could result in severe long-term consequences on child and adolescent development, and added that such measures were unlikely to reduce crime overall. The imprisonment of life sentences and excessively long detention measures on children and adolescents constitute a contradiction of the standards enshrined in the Convention on the Rights of the Child. UNICEF wrote in a statement with the Committee on the Rights of the Child, a UN monitor. This minimum standards required that children in conflict with the law be treated as a manner that prioritizes their rehabilitation and reintegration. The new measure lifts certain legal protections for youth offenders, though it does allow for periodic sentences review and possibility of supervised release. Human rights monitors have repeatedly called on Bukele and the Salvadoran government to put an end to its state of emergency and related anti-crime measures, arguing they violate fundamental human rights. Just last month, the International Group of Experts for the Investigation of Human Rights Violations under the state of emergency in El Salvador published its final report, which alleged that crimes against humanity had been committed over the last few years. The group pointed to comments from Bukele himself, acknowledging that at least 8,000 detainees were innocent. The figures speak for themselves, said Jose Guevara, one of the experts included in the report. Quote, these are not isolated cases, but a policy in which crimes are committed on a large scale and in a systemic manner. Jeez, I do want to read that report at some point. There's a couple of reports I've been meaning to read, but it would have to just be a stream of that. And there's a lot of stuff I want to catch up on, so I'm not sure when that'll happen. But there'll be days moving forward where I do want to say, hey, we're literally spending the 3 days reading these fucking files. I know it sounds not as exciting, but I do think it's important. The international group. Report El Salvador. Yeah, March 20. Oh, wow. But where's the actual report? There's no link to the fucking. What the fuck, man? You're quoting something, assholes. Where is it? The report highlights the scale. Yeah, okay. I don't care about. Oh, here it is. Ooh. Yeah, no, I totally don't have anger issues. Oh, the report is in Spanish. Cool. Oh, we were gonna have a full-on Spanish. Buena suerte, güey. Encrucijada. Crímenes de lesa. I don't even know what that means. Humanidad en el marco de la política de seguridad pública. Crimes of, I don't know what lesa means. Humanity en el marco, meaning like the benchmark de la política de the politics of safety, of public safety. Interesting. Ooh, I might hit up Carla about this. That'd be dope. From Cespe. 120 pages, bro. Oh, it keeps going. Oh, it's like, fuck, 297 pages. Wow. It does make you sad that, like, I only know 2 languages. It does make me sad, I should say. Because, like, all the other, like, shit that I'm missing or that I'm unable, all the information I'm unable to access. That's why I'm, like, so critical. Need to slow down. That's why I'm so critical of North Finkelstein. Because I'm like, bro, how are you studying something for 3 decades? You're always bragging about that shit. And you never felt inclined to learn either of the primary languages on that subject. Whether it's Arabic or whether it's the made-up Zionist language. I don't get that. A largo de los últimos 5 años, El Salvador ha experimentado un acelerador no es ra, acelerado. I'm rolling the R too much. Yeah, bro, I'm struggling with this one. Acelerado, which is acelerado. No, because I'm doing the D before the R, which is not right. Dude, I don't know if it's my tongue that I bit the fuck out of it, but I don't think it is. Acelerado. Okay, acelerado. Okay, acelerado. There we go. Experimentado un acelerado proceso de concentración de poder y erición institucional que ha transformado su orden democrático en un sistema. Damn. That's rough. Autoritario. Tanto de ere como de facto. De facto, ok. Una crisis estructural de Estado de Derecho sin precedentes del el fin de la guerra civil. Okay, so in other words, so a large part of the last 5 years, El Salvador has experimented in a rapid and an accelerated process of concentrating power and eroding the institutions, which has transformed the order, the democratic order, and its system in favor of a authoritarian system. It's a structural crisis of the state, of derechos, meaning of rights, without precedent, other than the end of the Civil War. Damn, it's been a while. Yeah, I'm going to read this some other time, but this is going to help my Spanish too, especially because I think the hardest part right now too, and y'all know I struggle to pronounce shit in English, so it's not anything fucking unique, unfortunately. But reading out loud is not something that I was never used to doing before streaming. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, it's too much? Probably. Anywho. Thank y'all for putting up with me on that. I really do like that word though. Encrucijada. No, I knew what the word meant. I could not say it. I could not pronounce it. Somebody mentioned earlier that the ear doctor doesn't use the pronouncing thing. I think you just have to know yourself. Sometimes I'll think of the word, I'll know the word, and it sounds right in my head, and then there's a connection missing. And it's really frustrating. And what made it worse is like growing up, being first generation, you have the responsibility to translate a lot. If not like almost be like an English tutor. And so like it sucks because like whatever issue I have with pronunciation, whatever verbal potentially disability that I have, or whatever you would call it, did not help. And having the added pressure of like, well, you should know, you speak English, you're going to school, you should be able to, teach me or correct me how to say this properly. And it's like, I'm also learning, bro. All right. Let's knock those out. So do me a favor, y'all. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button. Hit the comments. Get busy in the chat. If you want to support the channel, you can always join the Patreon. $2 gets you access to a Discord. That's where we got all the receipts, all the dope article recommendation, and book suggestions that your heart can desire. You could always support the channel with super chats, super stickers, or become a member. Thank you to all who support already. It means a lot. All right. Kimura Arm Lock. Just because of that username. What is your question? I have a question about the Zionism discussion. What's up? Let me see if I tap out. Yeah, the lexicon. Well, the thing too is like being in Southern California, it is a little bit of a disadvantage in the sense that you get lazy, perezoso. because Spanglish and Spanglish dominated by English is so prevalent. And so like at work, you know, hay unas señoras, there's older women that only feel comfortable speaking Spanish. So they'll speak Spanish 98% of the time. And that 2%, they'll speak English to people who do not speak English, right? And look, everyone respects and cares about these, you know, señoras. But también son cabronas. Chingan, you know, like they're also people. They also have their fucking traits and characteristics that can be annoying, that can bother you. They also talk their shit. So you gotta remind them that, hey, we're all coworkers here. We're all adults. Now, sure, we're raised to respect our elders, but at a certain point, you gotta be like, all right, cálmate, like relax. And so like, but also your coworkers, so you gotta be friends. You gotta be friendly. You gotta roast each other, you know, bother each other a little bit. And so slowly but surely, those kind of oh, you're an older person, I have to respect you, kind of breaks down, and you just become, you know, friendly. And so esa señora comes over and she starts like complaining about something, right? And I'm listening. And also because I'm a union rep, I'm a shop steward, it's like I hear it even more, and I could joke, but I can't be rude or can't be dismissive. And she's talking to me in Spanish, I'm listening. And then next to us is a brown homie, but this homie is Filipino, but he has a goatee that actually connects, unlike mine. He has a goatee, right? And so he looks like, and look, Filipinos my book can claim to be Latinos. I don't care, right? We're cousins at the very least. So he, you know, depending, maybe some shades can look like this type of brown, you know? And he's just standing there and he doesn't, I'm sure he understands some Spanish words, but he doesn't, you know, understand. And then I told her, I'm like, señora, I'm like, I think that was very rude of you to talk in Spanish for that long in front of him, knowing that he doesn't understand Spanish. And then she kind of got like a little like taken aback. I look over at him and I go, hey, bro, I just want you to know she was talking mad shit about you, that you're lazy as fuck and that you don't know how to do your job. And this fool knows that she did not say that. So he starts laughing. She gets red, bro. She gets red. Tries, like, smacks me. All right. And repeats word for word her rant in Spanish, now in English for him. And I'm fucking dying. I'm not laughing because of her accent, which is very thick. I'm laughing because she is quite literally repeating word for word the rant that she just finished. I can go on a rant and I wouldn't be able to tell you what I said like that, much less translate that shit, bro. She killed it. But she like was saying it like in a panic, like, no, I didn't say that. And then
I'm
boom,
afraid
oh
of like talking to people.
Somebody says you're always starting shit. Always, bro. Always. Like, I love doing that. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. And most people know now, just ignore me. But it's all about how you sell it and your delivery. It was so good. I love that shit. But because you're in situations like that where you do have a lot of Spanish speakers who understand English enough, you do get lazy with your Spanish. You do get lazy with it. Tenemos que? Yeah, we have to. We must or we have to, yeah. All right. Where are we at? Oh, the question over here, and then we'll get back to the articles. How long is this one? The call. Is this your thing? Yeah, I'll join it. Oh, hold on. Let me I didn't know the call part of the free shepherd thing. Sorry, give me 1 second. I gotta access my email. Now, are they? Oh no, they're asking me to download Substack. I really don't want to do that. Fuck. Now it's because I have a Substack account, just not through this Chrome login. Fuck. All right, let me see if I could. It's fine. We have a longer piece to hit, anyways. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, we'll come back to that at another time. I didn't know that. My bad. We'll do a little bit of this since we did some reading. Okay. How does something like World War II factor into considering Jewish people not marginalized due to them joining in on white supremacy? Oh, there was a two-part. Sorry. Okay. So with the idea that Zionism is Jewish people joining white supremacy and not considering them marginalized, how does the Holocaust or similar instances factor in? How does something like World War II factor into considering Jewish people not marginalized due to them joining in on white supremacy? How does the Holocaust factor into Zionism? It's just a tool. It's just like Judaism. It's a tool. It's a shield. Again, I would recommend the Holocaust industry. I don't just have this here to like flex fuck Norm Finkelstein. I had it because I was looking for something very specific yesterday in preparation with that discussion with Little Bill and FD with Dr. Ball. So I'm not doing this weird kind of like, pretentious stuff. It's just literally like, I would recommend reading it. Norm Finkelstein is a white savior, but it's a solid text. How does something like World War II factor into considering Jewish people not marginalized due to them joining in on white supremacy? Again, I mean, the Zionist project was being advanced even before World War II. That was an instance of them being marginalized or no. Yeah, marginalized by fellow Europeans. I've never claimed that European Jews haven't been marginalized by Europeans. I've never claimed that. That's ridiculous, of course. I mean, I literally said it was white on white bullshit, white on white crime, white on white violence. But thank you for the question. Fuck's my coffee at? I only slept 4 hours because I get woken up too much after training. After training and a bath, a shower. Fuck, I'm like up to like midnight. It's the worst. All right, let's get to this. Listen to this nonsense. This conversation is being praised. It's being criticized mainly by individuals that are to the right of Hasan Piker within the Democratic Party.
Been circulating this one from January. Hamas is 1,000 times better than the fascist settler colonial apartheid state.
I stand by that.
My apologies. Jesus.
For a minute, because I think it connects to another comment of yours that's been circulating. This is one from January. Hamas is 1,000 times better than the fascist settler colonial apartheid state.
I stand by that.
Well, so I will say this is the one that bothered me most when I first heard it. And I remember having a reaction to it when I first saw it in January. Because I think even if you believe what happened in Gaza is genocide and what's happening in the West Bank is apartheid, those are different claims from Hamas is 1,000 times better, because like Hamas is an organization that has massacred, raped, kidnapped civilians on October 7th. They've also been catastrophic for Palestinians by almost every measure. Governance, corruption, they made choices they knew would result in mass civilian death of their own people. So my question is, when you say Hamas is 1,000 times better, do you actually mean that? Or is that a rhetorical move or like a solidarity signal? Like what?
I mean, it's all of the above. I do mean.
Okay. I'm going to play the question back. And I want you to keep the question in mind. And tell me if at any point Hasan Piker challenges the idea, the Zionist propaganda, that there was rapes. Remember, first it was mass rapes, then it was just rapes being conducted by Palestinians, by Palestinian resistance forces, Hamas predominantly, on October 7th during Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. Please show me, tell me, give me a timestamp in the chat, in the comments later on. Let me know at what point he challenges the claims made by this individual here, John. Tell me when he challenges that Hamas is a detriment to the Palestinian people. Because the framing is atrocious. Hasan Piker is only worried about saving his own ass. In his response, pay attention, watch. We'll go again. Hasan Piker said Hamas is 1,000 times better than the Zionist entity.
Violence just for a minute, because I think it connects to another comment of yours that's been circulating. This is one from January. Hamas is 1,000 times better than the fascist settler colonial apartheid state of Israel.
I stand by that.
Well, so I will say this is the one that bothered me most when I first heard it. And I remember having a reaction to it when I first saw it in January. Because I think even if you believe what happened in Gaza is genocide and what's happening in the West Bank is...
Even if you believe that what's happening in Gaza is genocide, and what is happening in the West Bank
apartheid
is apartheid. But okay.
Those are different claims from Hamas is 1,000 times better, because like Hamas is an organization that has massacred, raped, kidnapped civilians on October 7th. They've also been catastrophic for Palestine.
Massacred, raped, and kidnapped civilians on October 7th. Colonizers are not civilians. They're occupiers. They're occupiers. Their presence and existence on Palestinian land is dependent on the expulsion, ethnic cleansing, eradication, extermination of the Palestinian, the indigenous people. Kidnapped. They were taken hostage in order to secure a hostage exchange, because apparently it's fine for the Zionist project, the occupying force, to kidnap the indigenous people, Palestinians, from children to men and women, indefinitely in their fucking dungeons. And the only way that they have released them is through these hostage exchanges, is through force. That is the language that the colonizer speaks and understands. So that is the language that we must learn and embrace. We didn't make the rules. We didn't make the fucking rules. They did. And they cry when we play by them. One problem that I'm having here is that John talks pretty quick and Hasan talks so fucking slow, bro. Bro, it's like somehow I moved to Los Angeles as a grown adult, but like I have the vocal fry of a valley girl. Make that shit make sense, homie.
Palestinians by almost every measure. Governance, corruption, they made choices they knew would result in mass civilian death of their own people. So my question...
You see how he's blaming? the resistance forces, Hamas, for the actions of the Zionist project. They took actions that they knew would result in civilian death of their own people. Do you think Hassan's going to challenge his framing? Or do you think he's more concerned about saving his own ass and making sure that his PR is solid to be the Democratic Party's left-wing spokesperson? Do you think he's going to challenge that? Of course not. Because he cozy ups to these liberal Zionists like John here. It's disgusting.
Civilians on October 7th. They've also been catastrophic for Palestinians by almost.
They have been catastrophic to Palestinians. There's this narrative that Hamas is kidnapping or holding hostage Palestinians, that Palestinians have no agency and no ability to determine who they're going to support, who they see willing to sacrifice themselves to be their martyrs, right? For liberation.
Almost every measure. They govern.
In every measure, governance,
corruption. They made sure.
Corruption.
They knew would result in mass civilian death of their own people. So my question is, when you say Hamas is 1,000 times better, do you actually mean that? Or is that a rhetorical move or like a solidarity signal? Like what?
I mean, it's all of the above. I do mean it. I think it's a rhetorical move because it frustrates a lot of people. I've also said I'm a harm reduction voter. I'm a lesser evil voter, and therefore I would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time.
He's a harm reductionist voter. That's his excuse for voting for Holocaust Harris in fucking California. Despite Palestinians in Gaza telling us the Democratic Party should be viewed as our enemies as well. They're the ones currently in charge of the death machine. It is atrocious.
Because I'm looking at the situation as a paramilitary organization that has like a political party as well, a Politburo as well, that is entirely comprised not as an alien force, but of orphaned children that have, had their parents killed by an apartheid state that has been dominating the lives of Palestinians for 80 years at this point. And they've done a genocide at this point as well. But like it started off with the Nakba and has only evolved as technology has gotten better to become more heinous. And Gaza is this hermetically sealed area that many people correctly point to as the world's largest open air prison before October 7.
And one thing that he does that kind of fools people into believing that he's sincere is all the buzzwords. All the buzzwords. All the buzzwords. Open air prison, all the buzzwords. He'll get that locked down. And so you hear that passively and you're like, oh, okay, cool. He has true Palestinian solidarity. Then you look at all the fucking Zionists that he cozies up to, that he goes into business with. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. He's an insincere opportunist. Makes sense.
So my perspective on this has always been that I think that Hamas's tactics, which I oppose at times, right, or it's like internal governance issues, are secondary to this conversation because it's like placing a lot of emphasis on the Nat Turner rebellion.
This dumb fuck has praised Norm Finkelstein, the white savior. That's what Hasan wants to be. He wants to be the white savior. I've spoken about how annoyed I am that Norm Finkelstein uses the Nat Turner rebellions as a comparison to October 7th Palestinians. Palestinians have been colonized, they have been ethnically cleansed, they have gone through a genocide, but they have not been forced into chattel slavery. They have not been forced to reproduce against their will. They have not been treated to that level of barbarity. That's just the reality. And the reason why it's so frustrating is, one, I think it's disrespectful to victims of chattel slavery and their descendants. And two, I think it further contribute to that settler realism that refuses to engage with the United States as a settler colonial empire, giving it legitimacy. By instead of comparing indigenous people resisting occupation as one-to-one, indigenous people here to indigenous Palestinians, to, no, let's forget about the indigenous people here. Let's forget about that being the primary contradiction and focus on slavery in a way that disrespects or minimizes what chattel slavery truly is. So it's a tough line to walk and to explain, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm diminishing or belittling anyone or anything. What I'm saying is there is no reason to make this comparison, for chattel slavery, when you have the perfect one right there: indigenous people resisting settler colonialism. But people like Norm Finkelstein, Hasan Piker, they don't give a fuck about settler colonialism. They don't care. For them, it's just a marketing ploy. Because if they truly cared, much like Chris Kunstler from the No Politics Here podcast, if they truly fucking cared, they were truly principled and consistent, they would oppose settler colonialism everywhere, including the ones they benefit from. But again, Norm Finkelstein mocks decolonization. So what the fuck do you expect?
Or instead of talking about the much larger, much more consequential, much bigger harm that chattel slavery was to black people, to like sell black people and to rape them and treat them as though they weren't human. I think that's a far larger systemic force that is going to make the National Rebellion look inconsequential in comparison to the greater harm. Same with, for example, the ANC. The ANC had a militant wing called the MK. I'm not going to try to even.
So, bro, white liberals or rad libs over here talking about South Africa is the new Republicans talking about MLK when we talk about racism. It is astonishing to see some of these things become cliches in real time. It is astonishing. So they bring up South Africa and apartheid, the ANC, and never once do they bring up the fact that decolonization failed, that decolonization was betrayed by Mandela. They don't bring up that shit because what they want is the liberalization of the Zionist project. They don't want decolonization. So when they bring up South Africa, the ANC, pay attention to what they do not say, because they're weaponizing that history. They're hiding the fact that colonizers are still occupying that land, that they can still do shit like this. South African opposition figure, Malema, sentenced to 5 years in prison for firing a gun. Leading South African opposition politician, Julius Malema, 45, has been sentenced to 5 years after being found guilty of the illegal possession of a gun and firing it in public. But Magistrate Twanet Oliver allowed the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, an MP, to appeal against the sentencing, meaning that he was not immediately taken to prison. Earlier, standing in court in a dark suit and red tie, Malema showed little emotion as Oliver read out the sentence, even though his political future was at stake. Last year, he was convicted of 5 offenses, including the unlawful possession of a firearm, discharging it in public, and reckless endangerment. If his sentence is upheld, Malema would be disqualified from being an MP for 5 years after leaving prison. However, political analyst Sadil Suwana told the BBC that the appeals process was likely to take several years, so the EFF leader would be able to pursue his political career in the meantime. The charges related to an incident in 2018 when a video emerged showing Malema firing a semi-automatic rifle in the air during his party's 5th anniversary celebration held in the country's Eastern Cape province. During the trial in Kugombo City, which is the new name for East London, Malema told the court that he had fired the shots in celebration. But during her sentencing ruling over, Oliveira said it wasn't an impulsive act. It was the event of the evening, the AFP news agency report. She added that while his political standing had no bearing on her findings, he was someone who had a large following in South Africa and should account for his actions. Addressing some of those followers outside the court, he made a series of unsubstantiated allegations against Oliver and said, without offering direct evidence, that the conviction and the sentencing were a result of a conspiracy. They're trying, by all means, to silence this voice. They will never win. AFP quotes him saying, "We are fighting an enemy, and the enemy is white supremacy." Malema has a long reputation as being an outspoken, charismatic, and radical left-wing politician, and has a loyal band of supporters. Hundreds had come to back Malema with chants and revolutionary songs. When news came through that he would be allowed to appeal, they started calling out in the Xhosa language, Sigduku Nei, which translates as "we are leaving with him today." Sigoduka Nei. Malema was once the leader of the youth wing of the governing African National Congress, the ANC, but after being expelled from the party following a fallout with then President Jacob Zuma, he went on to form the EFF. With Malema's calls for the seizure of white-owned land and arguments that more should be done to transfer wealth to black majorities, the EFF ate away at the ANC's share of the vote. It became the country's 4th largest party at the 2024 elections. After being found guilty last October, Malema was quoted as telling those outside the court that going to prison or death is a badge of honor. "We cannot be scared of prison or to die for the revolution. Whatever they want to do, they must know we will never retreat." He also vowed to take a challenge to the judgment up to South Africa's highest court, the Constitutional Court. Malema's prosecution came when Afrikaner lobby group of AfriForum, which has contentious relationship with him and the EFF, opened a case against Malema after the video went viral. The Secretary General of the ANC, which leads a 10-party coalition government that does not include the EFF, expressed sympathy with Malema. Quote, "The main message we are being told here by the racist AfriForum is that if we dare stand up for black people, dare stand up for the marginalized, and dare stand up for our generational mission, we will be targeted." Fikol Mabalula. How are we doing that? Fikel Mabula. Okay, I like that. Fikel Mabula wrote on X in response to Thursday's sentencing. AfriForum has previously said it condemns all forms of racism, and a spokesperson said this case was about reckless and illegal actions and not race. I'm sure that's what it was. It's about law and order. It's not our fault they're all reckless and take upon illegal action. The organization also had a role in other convictions against Malema. Last August, he was found guilty of hate speech by the Equality Court following remarks he made at a rally in 2022. I mean, this is lawfare, right? I mean, but it's always been the case in terms of settler colonial projects. After an incident where a white man allegedly assaulted an EFF member, Malema said, "No white man is going to beat me up. You must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be." The Equality Court ruled that these remarks demonstrated an intent to incite harm, but the EFF said they were taken out of context. No, see, when you tell white supremacists, when you tell colonizers that you're going to defend yourself, that's terrorism, pal. When you say you won't take abuse, that's terrorism, pal. Yeah. When you say you won't bend the knee to white supremacy, that you won't turn the other cheek, guess what? Terrorism. Malema has also been criticized for chanting a song that includes the words "shoot the Boer," the Afrikaner, "shoot the farmer" at his political rallies. US President Donald Trump brought this up during a tense White House meeting with South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa last May. Afrikaner lobby groups have tried to get the song banned. Aww. Little jingle over here. But South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal has ruled that a reasonably well-informed person would understand that the song, which dates from the fight against white minority rule, was not meant to be taken literally, and so was not hate speech. I don't know, right? Is it decolonization is not a metaphor? All right. A little interlude from this nonsense over here.
Same with, for example, the ANC. The ANC had a militant wing called the MK. I'm not going to try to even attempt to say it. And Nelson Mandela went to prison and was imprisoned by the apartheid state. And MK and the ANC did a lot of stuff to collaborators, the collaborators that had worked alongside the apartheid administration. They had a practice called necklacing, where they would put a tire around the necks of collaborators and light it on fire. It was a heinous practice. And it was, of course, condemned after the fact, but none of the people that were engaged in it, if I recall correctly, even in the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, were actually legally charged for it. Because there's this understanding when we look back at like some of the more heinous things that resistance groups have done and militancies have done, we match that up against the far larger, far broader systematic violence that an entire people have been subjected to. And it makes me feel silly to consistently, talk about what Hamas has done, especially when there has been an October 7 times 1,000, if not more than 1,000 at this point, in the hands of Israel against the Palestinian population in its entirety. I mean, they're doing an October 7 to Lebanon right now as we speak. Just take
Chat and in the comments, please remind me. Was October 7th a settler colonial project attacking indigenous people? What the fuck do you mean that the Zionist project is carrying out October 7th against Palestinians and in Lebanon? The desperation to cleanse your image, to become a full-time Democratic Party consultant in the slickest way possible is throwing Palestinian resistance forces under the bus. And the doublespeak comes in where you're like, I wouldn't denounce the horrific, atrocious actions, repulsive things that they carry out. And then you're saying that the Zionist project is carrying out their own October 7th. And now the excuse is going to be like, no, he means in terms of attacking and lives lost. Because according to the Zionists, October 7th has been, the most tragic day and the greatest loss of Euro and Euro-American and overall Jewish lives lost since the Holocaust, right? So you're trying to flip the script on that. But then you're removing all the context from October 7th of the right to armed resistance from colonialism, from occupation. And you're painting it as just an attack. And so, if you truly break down what Hasan Piker is saying, that the people of Palestine, the people of Lebanon, as the Zionist project is carrying out multiple October 7ths on them, that they are innocent just as the original victims of October 7th, Operation Al-Aqsa flood, excuse me. Again, I understand what he's trying to say. What he's trying to say is like, oh yeah, the deadliest day in modern Jewish history is being enacted upon the Palestinian people and the people in Lebanon multiple times over by the Zionist project. But somebody listening in is going to paint October 7th, Operation Al-Aqsa flood, as atrocious as what the Zionist project is doing to Palestinians and those in Lebanon. Congratulations, I guess. I don't know if that was your goal, but that's what you fucking said. That is what you're communicating. Listen to it again and correct me if I'm wrong.
Systematic violence that an entire people have been subjected to, and it makes me feel silly to consistently, talk about what Hamas has done, especially when there has been an October 7 times 1,000, if not more than 1,000 at this point, in the hands of Israel against the Palestinian population in its entirety. I mean, they're doing an October 7 to Lebanon right now as we speak. Just take it from.
The Zionist project cannot carry out on October 7th. The Zionist project cannot have in its hands October 7th. Because October 7th was a revolutionary, anti-colonial action. It is literally impossible for the Zionist project to carry that out in any shape, way, or form. And why you would somehow think it was intelligent to try and flip the script in this way is atrocious. Because what you're doing here is denouncing, vilifying, smearing October 7th. I'm not putting words in his mouth. He chose this example. He thought this shit was intelligent. How many of his viewers, followers, subscribers, cultists, supporters, orbiters do you think are going to pick up on this or criticize this publicly? So you can call me a hater, you can say I'm obsessed, this and that. Who else is fucking pointing this shit out? How? Please explain to me, how the fuck does the Zionist project carry out on October 7th? Explain it to me. Because the only rationale, the only way you can explain this is if you're smearing and vilifying October 7th. An act of decolonization. That's the only way. Because we can all agree that what the Zionist project has done to Palestinians and is what doing in Lebanon is atrocious. So how the fuck are you going to label their actions multiple October 7ths? I think this fool was probably tearing up and terrified on October 7th the same way that he was for Charlie Kirk.
Against the Palestinian.
Hold on.
He had a militant wing called the MK.
I don't know if I'm tripping out, but it seemed really, really dark.
Lighted on fire. It was heinous practice. For it, because there's this understanding when we look back at some of the more heinous things that the entire people have been talking against the Palestinian population in its entirety. I mean, they're doing an October 7 to Lebanon right now as we speak.
Just take it from the Palestinian perspective.
Bro, I know John did not pick up on that. But look at his reaction, like, oh God, you're a fucking idiot. And we're thinking that way, we're feeling that annoyed for totally different reasons. But look at his reaction.
7 to Lebanon right now as we speak.
Just take it.
He's like, oh goddamn, this nepo baby that needed extra fucking help on top of nepotism. Fuck, I had to talk to this fucking moron. Holy shit. This is what the Democratic Party is paying me to do PR for. Damn it. Fuck. Where did I go wrong? I was a speechwriter for Obama. I had it all in the palm of my hands. Could have had a Netflix deal. Why? Why am I here? Why am I a glorified streamer? God damn it. I hate this. I hate everyone. Why? Okay, get it together, John. Get it together, John. Talk slowly so that this meathead can understand you. Whew. Okay. Yeah, Hasan Piker, how we doing? Dude. Look, John is an opportunist. He's a disgusting individual. But he is objectively at least more intelligent than Hasan Piker. And that's not a compliment. That's not a huge achievement.
It from the Palestinian perspective.
Yeah.
Don't you think Hamas's decision to attack on October 7th and to massacre civilians on October 7th was a catastrophic mistake for them?
Okay. So now this is another question. Please give me the timestamp. Remind me where Hasan Piker, because I asked you this at the beginning, push back on the narrative that John was pushing. Because all I heard was him trying to defend his position, not challenge the narrative that the audience of Pod America is normalizing and vilifying and smearing Hamas.
October 7th and to massacre civilians on October 7th was a catastrophic mistake for them, for the Palestinian people. Like, do you think the Palestinian people are in any way better off than they were before October 7th?
No, of course not. But at the end of the
So
day,
that's why I'm asking.
I mean,
more.
but at
It's
the
more
end
for
of
me
the day-
like a resistance movements wherever they are need to come up with strategies.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess my view is, and I understand that there is a huge power imbalance here, but I think that resistance movements that engage in, mass slaughter or
That's like the third time that he continuously says mass slaughter, mass slaughter, mass slaughter. So the audience of viewers hearing that be like, oh yeah, no, I've heard Hamas committed mass slaughter. Their goal was to take hostages for a hostage exchange to release Palestinians in Zionist dungeons. Their goal was not to mass slaughter. Now the Hannibal Directive, the Hannibal Protocol, its goal is mass slaughter. There's a reason why they buried all those vehicles. Hamas and any of the Palestinian forces did not have the equipment, the firepower to burn down those cars to that degree. And there's a reason why they immediately bury them. They have the religious excuse of why they buried the dead so quickly. Fuck is the excuse for the car? Makes no fucking sense. It's just gross. The narrative is gross. And because Hasan's there to clean his image, he doesn't actually attack the narrative that John is promoting. And again, even saying the framing of the question, are Palestinians better off after Hamas's action on October 7th? And Hasan Piker says what? Of course not. What do you mean better off? What do you mean by better off? You see, a colonizer is going to say, hey, aren't you better off being housed, being fed, being taken care of? Why are you resisting? Don't worry. We'll get you water. We'll feed you. We'll get all that for you. You don't got to worry about that. And you're imprisoned in your own home, on your own land. As the world forgets about you and the actions being taken against you. The world has turned against Zionism. Not to the degree that we hope. And sure, we haven't seen the results that should be occurring. But no one believes, other than Zionists, in the Zionist propaganda anymore. Everyone at least has heard of Palestine now. Before it took the hijacking of planes. They have always needed to take direct action in order to remind the world that they will not be forgotten, that they will not go quietly into the night. So, this framing of, oh, weren't they better off? Weren't they better off before? When we didn't have to talk about them? When we didn't have to hear their cries? When we didn't have to see them get massacred because it wasn't hitting the algorithm? When I didn't have to see encampments in support of them on campuses? When supporting liberation wasn't a litmus test? Weren't they better off back then? When I didn't think about them? And that's what he's fucking saying.
Civilian targeting and all that. Like, they just have less success than resistance movements that are nonviolent. I mean, it's obviously in history. I know we've had a revolution here. I get it.
I wouldn't agree with
that
armed
revolution. Yeah,
but yeah.
But I do think if you look back over the last 100 years,
and again, the continued normalization of the colonization of, broadly speaking, Turtle Island. I know. We had a revolutionary here, didn't we? We freed ourselves from tyranny, right?
nonviolent movements have been more successful than armed resistance movements. That's just
I think they work hand in hand, but I think it might have been Kwame Ture who said it.
This multimillionaire has said a lot, has done a lot to make me despise him. But to quote or butcher Kwame Ture's message as a gotcha, as a point, when he literally wrote The Pitfalls of Liberalism, when he literally warned us about liberals like you, Hasan Piker, these people have no fucking shame. They will use the dead. They will use the oppressed. They will use the colonized for their own career ambition.
Hand in hand, but I think it might have been Kwame Ture who said it. You can only shame someone who has a conscience, and if your enemy has none, it's impossible to get them to react to your civil movement. Because the Palestinians have tried civil movements. I mean, the Great March of Return, where hundreds of Palestinians were sniped directly by the Israeli occupation forces, and they openly celebrated that too. They said we have an accounting of every single bullet that we shot at the Palestinians, and then they had to delete that. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as the war crimes galore that we're talking about, because even the everyday maintenance of apartheid, which Israel is an incredibly violent endeavor. That maintenance requires you to constantly be.
Israel is apartheid. Israel is apartheid. That is what liberal Zionists want you to think. They want you to think that that is the primary contradiction. That's why they always bring up South Africa. Because South Africa, the issue there was apartheid. They overthrew apartheid. So they won. They overthrew apartheid, so they won, right? We don't. Yeah. They want you to believe that the primary contradiction is apartheid, so that we abandon support for decolonization in Palestine the same way that we have abandoned support for decolonization in South Africa. That is why they're here. That is their role. That is what Hasan Piker has been hired to do. Understand that. I don't just despise him for fucking because I think he's a disgusting individual and opportunist. I despise him because he's a counter-revolutionary insurgent. A propagandist to mislead us. Give you an example. Break it down for you. I love this clip here.
I think you captured it very well.
If I hope this individual's doing well, if I ever, for whatever reason, run into them, I will ask if I could hug him. I will ask if I could purchase his groceries for him. I will invite him out to a drink. I will thank him. I will tell him I have used your wise words, your brilliant breakdown time and time again. Know that I have done the best that I could to voice your thoughts and concern and your love, because that's what this is. He's speaking from a place of love and concern to the best of my abilities. And I will continue to do so, because this is masterful here. This is masterful here. You should always reference this clip at the hour and 2 minute mark for all these white rad libs that continue to put South Africa in their fucking mouth.
Very happy to see you, my home girl. I forgot to say that.
Hello, yeah, I support your determination for self-determination, but I just want to remind you of something. You know, the ANC had a rule which they weren't going to break. It was in the Freedom Charter of 1956, which says that the resources of South Africa would be used for the people of South Africa. And, you know, and they were determined, the Freedom Charter, not to break this. But in 2002, I saw an interview with Nelson Mandela conducted by John Pilger. And his answer was, why have you broken that charter? And his reference was the fact that the precious resources of South Africa still remained in the hands of the very few white elite post-apartheid, to the extent that here in this country, Mrs. Thatcher's son moved to South Africa. Lady Diana Spencer's brother moved to South Africa because the tax rates were so favorable if you had wealth, at a time when the people in Soweto were still living in steel shuts without running water, as you quite rightly said. And when John Pilger asked him why he said this, his answer was really interesting. Nelson said, but I haven't cheated on that charter.
Liberals, sellouts, vendidos, compradors will always use these fucking word games. Will always try to manipulate the language to justify their actions, to excuse themselves, to shield themselves, to gaslight you, mislead you, to confuse you. That is one of their greatest tools, is language. Don't fall for that shit.
You can now buy shares in these companies. Well, clearly, the people in Soweto can't buy shares. That massacre you mentioned in 2011, what you didn't say was that one of the shareholders was Cyril Ramaphosa. He used to be on the TV in this country every day, leading the ANC. Now he's one of the very wealthy guys who's getting Anglo shares, profits, he's rich. When he was asked, you shot people who were unarmed, he had nothing to say. I just want to say to you, and I'm going to wrap this up quickly, my fear is that you're not addressing the issue. The issue is the reason we love Nelson Mandela is because he made a deal with the white elites, the power structures.
The reason we love Nelson Mandela is because he was a sellout, he was a commodore, he betrayed decolonization. That is the reason why we love Nelson Mandela. Because if he hadn't, we'd be conditioned, we'd be socialized, we've been educated to hate him, to despise him if he was mentioned at all. That's the reason we love him. Because he was a traitor.
Nelson Mandela is because you're not addressing the issue. The issue is the reason we love Nelson Mandela is because he made a deal with the white elites, the power structures, the De Beers, the Oppenheimers, to remain in power, and he wouldn't touch their wealth, he wouldn't share their wealth, and that's why we in England love him, because the press tells us to. He betrayed the people of South Africa. And I'm frightened that unless you actually address the fact that the laws of South Africa doesn't make the corporations share the wealth as the Freedom Charter of 56 demands, my fear is nothing will change. Of 56 demands, my fear is nothing will change.
Beautiful. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. There has not been a better audience member alive, right? Just astonishing. I adore and love this. Man. Again. Be principled. Stay consistent. Don't fall for the bullshit that these liberals push on you, regardless of what they rebrand themselves as. Rad libs, progressives, sock dems, democratic socialists, right? Don't fall for that shit. And look and listen to what he said. My fear. That is concern. You're only concerned for something you care about. The way he was speaking, that is the anguish that can only be produced through love. Beautiful, beautiful. And these fucking white people just shamelessly manipulate that.
Is an incredibly violent endeavor. That maintenance requires you to constantly be a military force that is ever present, that is dominating and ritualistically humiliating and subjugating millions of people. So my perspective is always looking at this from the perspective of the people that are being dominated, rather than placing a lot of the emphasis on structural violence, or rather on state-backed violence, which we have a predisposition to lean into no matter what. Someone fights back against a cop, the automatic suspicion is, well, the police are actually maintaining law and order, so it must be a criminal, right? That might not always be the case. So I like to look at this stuff with a more open-minded framework where I can try to figure out exactly what led to a day like October 7 that was unbelievably violent, right? And I think it's pretty clear that 75 years at that point of ethnic cleansing and apartheid and subjugation was a big part of the driving force. And as far as Hamas goes, we oftentimes talk about just Hamas. It's almost like a catch-all term. Hamas is only one component of the Palestinian resistance. The Al-Aqsa Flood was actually conducted not only by Hamas, but Palestinian Islamic Jihad's own militant forces, PFLP, DFLP, and numerous other, even including Fatah militias as well that still existed in Gaza. So this was a military operation initially that was conducted by virtually every single active organization inside of Gaza.
All right. So a little detail here. And this might be a little petty of me or hypercritical. The reason why I bring up, why I largely say Palestinian resistance forces, is out of respect and consideration for the other organizations. Out of respect and appreciation that Hamas is willing to work with other organizations like that. Right? where what unites them is a national struggle of liberation. That's why I do it, to recognize like, hey, there's other people outside of Hamas also willing to fight, to engage in that struggle, in armed resistance. Right? I do it out of respect, because too often, we forget about other organizations. And simultaneously, I do it out of respect for Hamas and to push back against the idea that somehow they're these like authoritarian dictators and shit like that don't allow for any disagreement or opposition. They're willing to work with other organizations, and they show no mercy for compradors, right? Which is a beautiful thing. The reason why Hasan and other rad-libs mention that there were other organizations is not for any of those reasons. They do it to say, okay, yeah, well, you might think Hamas is bad, but there's also some groups that aren't as bad as Hamas. Oh, we don't know. The Palestinian people aren't Hamas. They're not a reflection of Hamas at all, because there's other organizations. That's why they do it. They do it to distance. They do it to create a separation, a distinction between Palestinians and Hamas. That's why they do this. That is, again, we could be saying the same thing for totally different fucking reasons. And that's how liberals operate. That's why they're insidious. It's not enough to just listen to the words that they're saying. It's, why are they saying this? What is the framing? What is the narrative around this? What is the objective? Again, I'm open to being criticized and saying, yeah, all right, you're tripping out right now. You're letting the pettiness and your hatred cloud you. Let me know.
So it's not, that's why I always say, like, Hamas is not an alien entity in the way that we think about them, or we say, oh, they are, they're these like evil oppressors of the Palestinian people. Are there disagreements within the Palestinian coalition against Hamas's governance? Absolutely. No people are a monolith. But the only thing that every single Palestinian, with the exception of those who work for like the Atlantic Council or whatever, that are there to just, do regime propaganda, do Israel propaganda, with the exception of those people, every Palestinian I've ever talked to, Christian Palestinians, who might even have major disagreements with Hamas, who might even be critical of Hamas, will always say the number one thing that we want is the end to the occupation, is the end to the apartheid. The number one thing we want is dignity and sovereignty, and that is what Hamas has been trying to achieve militarily.
The message that you just said that the Palestinians want, an end to the occupation, dignity, self-determination.
Yeah.
I've noticed this with Sam Cedar. He's my Zionist canary in the coal mine. And they've made me hate the word occupation, because I've seen the way they manipulate it. They've made me hate the word occupation because I see the way they manipulate it. Understand this. I used to love the word occupation in the sense of Immortal Technique saying, no matter what you think, occupation is not victory. One of my favorite projects. These people, these compradors, these sellouts, these Zionists, are using occupation to mean the illegal occupation of what is recognized as Palestine or the Palestinian territory after the Nakba. 67. That's what they mean by occupation. When they say occupation, you might think and hear, oh yeah, every square inch of Palestinian land that is being occupied by the Zionist project. That is not what they mean. Same thing with Gabor Mate. Same thing with Gabor Mate. I'll give you an example. Let me show you. Let me show you. Mate is fine.
Well, how about returning the land that's been stolen from the Palestinians?
How about returning the land that's been stolen from Palestinians? I agree, Gavin Rante. Thank goodness. You know, I love your son's show. Bad Hasbara. Daniel Mate is doing a great job with Matt Lieb. I'm sure that if you say anything that maybe seemed or maybe understood as liberal Zionist, that they'll call you out on it, right? I'm sure they will. So you're not going to say anything that justifies, legitimizes the Nakba, right? And the right of the Zionist project to occupy Palestinian land, right?
Well, how about returning the land that's been stolen from the Palestinians? I'm not talking about the state of Israel. I'm not talking about 1948. I'm talking about since 67 and what's.
I'm not talking about 1948, meaning he endorses, supports, legitimizes the Nakba. He's talking about 1967. So when Hasan Piker and all these other liberals talk about occupation, they're not saying decolonization. It doesn't mean decolonization to them. It's something totally different from decolonization. They're talking about 1967. The occupation of the West Bank, the occupation of Gaza. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about decolonization. Please understand that. Because that's a slick trick. I picked up on it. I'm like, oh, fuck. That sounds good. Hasan used to say Palestinian emancipation. Why the fuck do you need to reach for all these words when decolonization is right there? It's because they don't support decolonization. It's because they don't advocate for decolonization. It's because they're fucking liberals.
Well, how about returning the land that's been stolen from the Palestinians? I'm not talking about the state of Israel. I'm not talking about 1948. I'm talking about since 67 and what's going on right now. So there's got to be some stop to what's going on, and that's how I understand it. No. Well, how about return?
It's fucking disgusting.
Just the Palestinians want an end to the occupation, dignity, self-determination.
Yeah.
For people.
John is willing to say, end of the occupation. Do not allow yourself to look foolish by believing that they mean decolonization. John would never say that fucking word. John would never support that or paint it in a positive light.
Has been trying to achieve militarily.
The message that you just said, that the Palestinians want an end to the occupation, dignity, self-determination.
Yeah.
For people who are not.
Because those are all positive things. The other two are positive things. Dignity and self-determination. End of the occupation would also be a positive thing, combining all those. That John is not opposing. You think if you added decolonization in there, he'd be like, oh yeah, that too. Fuck no. He'd be like, white genocide.
Dignity, self-determination.
Yeah.
For people who are not as familiar with the issue as you, but that you want to reach and that you want to, because I assume the purpose here is to build a movement that supports Palestinian self-determination. And if I was someone who didn't know a lot about it, and I knew that Hamas committed October 7th, and then I heard a message that Hamas is better than Israel, I would be less receptive to the person delivering that message than I would someone saying, look what Israel has done and what the Palestinian people really want. Aside from this organization that is serving them poorly, is most Palestinians just want dignity and they want an end to the oppression. Like, I would feel like
dignity and the end of the oppression. As if that's it. As if that's all.
Okay, I could get behind that, and I'm going to be more attracted to that message.
I have a policy of saying the truth unconditionally.
What a fucking liar. Fucking this. Oh, man. All right. Let's continue.
And standing by my principles, even if that's sometimes hard to hear. And that's precisely what I did after October 7, on October 8, when I went live and talked about the systematic forces that have led to October 7, and a lot of people were not receptive to that message at all, and some of which actually became haters of mine and left the community, where I lost a third of my entire community for like the first year.
I don't even know if that's true, but if it is, it says more about his unwillingness to address Zionism prior to October 7th. It says more about his normalization of liberal Zionism. Yeah, Linstack, you know, got to break it down. Got to make sure they can't claim it. No, it's actually, sorry, give me one sec. This is what was, this is what he was conditioning his community. This is what was going on. This is why Zionists felt comfortable in his community.
You say you think the people of Taiwan, whatever they want. And it seems to me that the people of Taiwan want independence. So I'm right with you there, brother. Independence for Taiwan.
I think one nation, two systems.
One nation, two systems?
Yeah. Which is the current.
Like Israel and Palestine?
Oh my God. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Come on.
I'm just fucking with you.
I think one nation, two systems.
One nation, two systems?
Yeah. Which is the current.
Like Israel and Palestine?
Oh my God. Do you?
Yesterday, I mentioned to FD and to Dr. Ball that if I were to call embrace Nick Fuentes as my primo, oh yeah, my primo, Nick Fuentes, Nicolás. If I were to embrace him like that, people would be like, fuck you cozying up to a white supremacist. And yet Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez can do that with her Theo Bernie Sanders, who's a lifelong Zionist. And nobody bats an eye. Hasan Piker, prior to October 7th, can pal around and joke around with the Zionists and Ethan Klein, wear his wife's merchandise, who is a proud IOF veteran. He could mock Palestinian liberation to Hasan Piker's face. I'm not going to say much about this because I'm going to be called anti-Semitic and we can't have Emma Vigeland doing that again. She might end my career. This is the face of a liberal Zionist normalizer. When Palestinian liberation, when the colonization of Palestine is mocked to his face, and when he doesn't feel the pressure of his audience to perform, and when he doesn't see money and clout in it, this is what he did. It wasn't enough to go into business with and partnership with the Zionist and his Zionist family. Nah. It wasn't enough. Ethan Klein knew that he could mock Palestinians to Hasan Piker's face and that he wouldn't challenge him because he wasn't willing to risk the clout and the money involved. So I don't know what he means by he lost a third of his audience. Maybe the audience that he picked up from Ethan Klein doing leftovers. Maybe that. Hasan always has to frame himself as a victim, as a martyr, because he hasn't done shit and sacrificed anything.
Of Israel's maximum violence, Israel's a genocide, where people simply did not want to hear that message at all. But I know, and I knew back then, that as long as I say the truth, that one, history will vindicate me, and two,
so it wasn't enough to disrespect Kwame Ture. It wasn't enough to disrespect Kwame Ture. Now you got to disrespect Fidel Castro. Do you know how much of a narcissist you have to be? I mean, remember, this is a man that said he saw Superman 2025 and he said, oh yeah, he's a lot like me. Trying to bring hope to people. People thought I was exaggerating with that comment, that I was being a little too petty, too much of a hater, reading too deep into it. This motherfucker dresses up as Superman for Halloween. because he sees himself as the Ubermensch, like a narcissist would. Most people see Superman as something to aspire to. If you read comics, if you watch the movies, Hasan sees Superman trying to aspire to be Hasan. But if I call him a narcissist, I'm out of line. I'm just being petty and I'm just a hater. This motherfucker says history will absolve me. Quoting Fidel Castro because, Sam Piker, multimillionaire streamer, DNC collaborator, Democratic Party consultant assistant over here. Yeah, history will need to absolve him the same way that it needed to absolve Fidel Castro. Same.
Not want to hear that message at all. But I know, and I knew back then, that as long as I say the truth, that one, history will vindicate me, and two, as long as I say the truth, there will always be people who are more charitable and more receptive to that regardless. Because I see no reason in sheltering people from that perspective. Do I obviously manage in a much longer format, in a much longer conversation like the one that we're having? Yes, I am obviously more capable of explaining that position. But I think saying what I said there, that Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel, cuts across that narrative in a way that I think even liberals have to think about, because someone who is immediately reactive to that kind of sentiment that goes, wait a minute, but Israel is a liberal democracy. It's the only democracy in the region. Why is he saying that? They understand at least one part of it, where they think, okay, he's saying, Hamas killed 1,200 people. A third of them were soldiers. A third of them were, military people who were active duty in the military.
A third of them were soldier, and a third of them were people that were military. They have forced conscription in Zionist entity. Just a reminder. Colonizers and civilians, huh?
And then civilians as well. Israel has done that duty in the military, and then civilians as well. People of them were, people where they think, okay, he's saying, Hamas killed 1,200 people. A third of them were soldiers. A third of them were, military people who were active duty in the military, and then civilians as well. Israel has done that, 1,000-fold to the Palestinians. So
again, the framing that somehow there were innocent civilians that were targeted, attacked, and massacred on October 7th. And that the Zionist entity has also done the same. So before I used to warn y'all about people that equate the colonizer with the colonized, now I have to warn y'all about people that equate. I have to warn you about the people that equate the actions carried out by the colonizer to the actions of resistance carried out by the colonized. I didn't think we had to go this low. I did not think we had to go this low.
So I think even in the most reductive ways, to try to comprehend what I'm saying there, people can understand that. I think people are not stupid. We assume that they're stupid.
I will tell you.
Your fucking fans are, brother. Your fucking fans are.
Well, I'll tell you how it landed with me, because I was it wasn't oh wait, why did he say that? Israel's some great. I was Israel has committed just horrific atrocity. What I have moved so far on this, but I'm Hamas is they're fucking. What did they do? October 7th was catastrophic for them. It was also we've all seen the images, kids and people, and a lot of these are leftist peaceniks, Israelis at a concert, and they
Lefty, peacenik, Israelis in a concert. Again, do you think Hasan's going to push back on that?
Like these are like leftist peaceniks, Israelis at a concert, and they fucking massacred them. And I'm like, these people are like, I just want to have, and I do think it's important in politics to have like universal principles, right? Which is like, if violence.
Universal principles. Again, equating the actions of the colonizer and the colonized, which is what Hasan Piker has been doing throughout. There's a reason why he said the Zionist project has conducted multiple October 7th on the people of Palestine and the people of Lebanon. Equating the actions of the colonizer and the colonized. You see how they work off of each other? The rad lib and the liberal to normalize a new narrative.
It's important in politics to have like universal principles, right? Which is like, if violence is always wrong. Civilian violence is always wrong. Targeting children and women, always wrong, no matter which side does it, right? And I do think that it's important not.
Hasan Piker agreed with every one of those points.
Violence is always wrong. Civilian
violence is always wrong.
Right? Which is like, if violence is always wrong. Civilian.
Okay, so he agrees with that.
Violence is always wrong. Targeting children and women, always wrong, no matter which side does it, right? And
in other words, saying Palestinians, Hamas, and other resistance forces are targeting children, and that's wrong. Just like the Zionists target children, and that's wrong. So basically saying we're in agreement, right? That both parties, the colonizer and the colonized, have targeted children. And that's wrong, right, Hasan? This is fucking disgusting. This is the epitome of liberal Zionist propaganda.
And I do think that it's important, not just from a moral perspective, but from like a building a political coalition perspective, to say, if I think one thing is wrong, one action is wrong on this side, then it also has to be wrong on the other side. Even if there is an obvious power imbalance, and even if there is a history.
But we don't always do that.
Bro, literally this. Literally this.
I know you don't want to talk historically, but
he's like, let's remove all context. Sure, there's a power imbalance. Let's not talk about why. Sure, there's history, but let's not talk about how that affects anything. To be able to equate the colonizer with the colonized, you have to remove context. You have to remove the history. You have to remove the reason for the power imbalance. Because actions are just actions on their own, isolated from everything else, from reality especially.
Is my point.
Oh, I know.
We don't do that when the dust is settled. We don't do that when the historic forces have played itself out and we look back at it. And I don't see a reason not to apply that same interpretation, because I see both. I see the civilians on both sides as human beings, where
give me 1 second for those of you that haven't seen it, because this is fucking disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This is going to be basically the intro theme to my scripted videos. So I'm going to do the pitch, I'm going to do the intro, and then this is going to be the break to start the rest of the video, right? When I first heard Mumia quote Frantz Fanon, I can't even explain how obsessed I was with that. I'm like, I need that in my life. I need that I need to be part of that somehow. So those of you that haven't joined the Patreon, it's all good. Do so if you can. It's all good. Let me share this. Let's hear what Hasan just said real quick.
I don't see a reason not to apply that same interpretation, because I see both. I see the civilians on both sides as human beings worthy of dignity, and I both. I see the civilians on both sides as human beings worthy of dignity.
What's going on here, y'all? The heck? Oh, maybe the...
There are two different species of humans in the world, the colonized and the colonizers. There are two different species of humans in the world, the colonized and the colonizers.
I don't want there to be any miscommunication. I don't want anyone to think that my positions are any different than what they are. So I'm like, perfect. You're going to watch one of my edited videos, you're going to see me, and then you're going to hear that. You're going to hear Mumia quoting Frantz Fanon. You better know what you're getting yourself into. You better know what I'm about. Because this equating the colonizer with the colonized shit. Oh, I see innocence life in both. Aren't we all just human beings? Fuck out of here. Understand that this is settler colonial apologia. This is settler colonial normalization. Utterly fucking disgusting.
See a reason not to apply that same interpretation, because I see both. I see the civilians on both sides as human beings worthy of dignity. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they do have a little bit of an implicit bias where we've been trained as Americans living here during the global war on terror to collateralize one side and to see the other side as like a European style country that's under attack. So we have the capacity to see the violence that Israelis are subjected to as like real human beings, maybe even your neighbor dying in the hands of scary brown people, as opposed to Palestinians that die, entire city blocks reduced to rubble, is something that we've seen so many times on the TV, whether it be the Syrian civil war, whether it be, Iraq, Afghanistan. So we automatically collateralize the lives of those Palestinians. So that's part of the reason
I will
why
say that those images are, I think, the most like that is what personally has moved me.
Yeah,
the most is seeing those images. Like I remember,
I had to see the massacre, the extermination of brown people, predominantly Muslims, to sympathize with them. Until I witness limbs scattered, buildings collapsed. Until I see parents, fathers and mothers carrying their children and the remains in bags. Until I see children crying next to the body of their parents. Then I'm like, God, gee golly, this is sure is awful. But you were co-signing that shit when Obama was carrying out drone strikes. How brave.
like in post October 7th, and we talked about it a lot here, and the student protest movement and all the craziness over that. And I remember thinking, like, there was that Columbia student who I think was eventually suspended or expelled or whatever for saying like, you're lucky I didn't kill more Zionists and all that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, someone says something like that, and it's just a reaction that I can't even, like, it's just a human reaction to be like, oh, maybe I don't want to be with these, like, this is bad. I don't want to hear, like, that's, now you want to kill Zionists, or you're, like, that's fucking crazy. That's hurting your movement. You know?
No.
Interesting case for using Jewish supremacy here. Right? Because would he have the same position if somebody said white supremacist? Would he be so like, oh? Would he be clutching his pearls to that extent? Or would he be more upset at the term Jewish supremacist in that context than the actual message? I mean, ultimately saying Zionist, it's saying that he aligns with the continued existence of the Zionist entity and Zionist colonizers. So it should be sufficient. But that's only because we haven't vilified Zionism enough. Or maybe they were only focused on the Jewish aspect of Jewish supremacists.
Like that's now you want to kill Zionists or you know what? Like that's fucking crazy. That's hurt.
Yeah. Taking out Zion, excuse me. Colonizers must be protected by all means.
I don't want to hear like that's now you want to kill Zionists or you know what? Like that's fucking crazy. That's hurting your movement. You know?
No, I've been look. Here's the thing. I've been around protest movements my whole professional media career for a very long time. I've been doing this for a decade plus. There's going to be cringe people. There's going to be passionate people that say unhinged things that I totally disagree with.
Yeah.
So when given the example that a Columbia student said he should have taken out more Zionists, Hasan Piker says, listen, I've been doing this for a long time professionally. You're going to be around cringe people. You're going to hear cringe people. You're going to hear passionate people who I disagree with. He's here for a PR stunt where he's trying to separate himself. All right? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Protest movements my whole professional media career for a very long time. I've been doing this for a decade plus. There's going to be cringe people. There's going to be passionate people that say unhinged things that I totally disagree with.
Yeah.
So people calling for the end of colonizers is unhinged, and he totally disagrees with it. I mean, that's his own fucking words. What do you want from me? What do I need to add to that? Can we stop pretending now? Can we please stop pretending now? And mind you, he says he's been around these protest movements his entire professional career. Because before he was getting paid for this, before he could make a career out of this, you think this motherfucker was showing up? Absolutely not. He would have been bragging about it nonstop. He didn't organize before. Until he could make a career and money and clout off of it. Even when he went to UCLA, where else did he go? How long was he there for? Was it Cuba the same thing as Cuba, where he was there for one day or what? Come on now.
At the end of the day, this is exactly what happened with Black Lives Matter as well, where, you know, there'd be like there'd be someone that says like, yeah, fry him like bacon. And then the media would laser in on that to disparage the entire movement. So I have a policy of looking at what the actual movement represents.
Bro said he denies, he rejects frying like bacon. That's cringe and unhinged. Wow.
Do I identify with those values? Do I agree with them? Rather than, key offenders that have said something that I consider to be heinous as well, right?
All right. We're done. He considers somebody saying that Zionist colonizers should be as heinous. Fry them like bacon. Heinous. But this is a leftist, huh? But we're on the same team, aren't we? Wow. You know, I want a Clockwork Orange force read The Pitfalls of Liberalism since it feels so equipped to quote Kwame Ture. Es pan dulce un puerquito, but I've been I've been frying it. I'm done with this shit, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. My apologies. But come on. Like, a man can only deal with this bullshit, you know, so much. I don't know how he has anyone calling him a leftist. Obviously not a socialist or a communist, as he's rejected those labels and regrets even labeling himself as such. Look, we're about to hit 4 hours. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. Remember what Glenn Ford said? Organize, 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 organize with eyes wide open. If you're new here, you always wrap up with a poem by John Trudell, The Beast. Appreciate you. It's a little hectic at the beginning, not gonna lie, but it was fun, especially after yesterday. So, welcome. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave a comment after the fact. Subscribe to Deculturation Live. It's basically where everything stays up. All the live streams. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for the support. Patreon, up and running. Join. $2 gets you access to a Discord. Super stickers, super chats turn on. Memberships turn on both YouTube channels. I appreciate y'all. John Trudell, The Beast. In a wisp of smoke, down on a corner, there was this cat named Fortunate Lee, talking at me from voices in his head, yelling about what storyteller said. You gotta be careful here, child. There's a beast in the promised land. There's madness you don't understand. The beast is crazed and running wild. Little boy, man, little girl, woman. No big deal. Nothing personal. Your mind's another meal. Savoring the rush of you like heady wine. Feeding is what the beast is meant to do. Strange are those walls built to hide. Stranger to look and learn not to see. He's in the mask you put on your face. Thoughts, his favorite breeding place. In the race to midnight, it's after 11. The nature of the beast is all he knows. Behind doors of hell are gates of heaven. Doors are open, the gates are closed.
Who are outside of my race